Hello friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. My name is Frederick and I'm pleased to meet you again. In this video series, we are going to learn how to develop inventory management system using .NET 8 Blazor web app with interactive server render mode. Maybe you ask yourself, what is inventory management system? If you've done so, then it's a system designed to track and manage products in warehouse or store. Now, this is very broad. We're going to try our best to do part. I'm not sure we can do everything. Yes, we cannot. Let's look at some overview of this system that we are going to build. I mean, you and I. This system, we're going to be using .NET 8 Clean Architecture. That is the first part. You're going to be using custom cookie authentication with identity manager. You're going to be using policy-based authorization, which comprises of roles and claims. Then we're going to be using Signal R for real-time update. Then we're going to be using CQRS, that is command query responsibility segregation, to perform CRUD on entities. This system that we are going to build comprises of three policies: admin policy, or admin, manager, and user. Admin, it is the whole boss of the system. Manager works under the admin on a specific task assigned. And now the user here, it is a shop, because this system that we are building is going to be used by a warehouse. Now, a warehouse can serve multiple shops. So, these shops, which depend on the warehouse for product, becomes the user. Now, a user, bear in mind, user is a shop. This user can make an order of product from the warehouse. And now, that is where we're going to be using the Signal R. As soon as order is made from the client session or from the user, it must get, or the user or the administration must get notified as soon as order is made. When the order is being cancelled by the user or the shop, the warehouse must be aware. When also the warehouse or the administration cancel the request or the order, the user must also get notified. When the item is being delivered, delivering mode, it must also, the user must also be notified. And we can achieve this using Signal R. There are so many things in this project that you can learn. I'm not sure I can talk about everything. Yes, I'm not sure. Yes. Okay, so this project will be in videos. If I say videos, meaning multiple videos. Now we're going to create a separate playlist, and I will name it as Inventory Management System with .NET 8 Blazor Interactive Server. So we can take that playlist, and all the videos in there, you can watch all of them. When I'm done creating these individual videos, I can also combine them into one, and maybe you can also wait for that. If you want to grab it as a whole, you can also do that. You know, I cannot proceed without saying I offer coaching or mentoring sessions to people who are interested and want to improve their coding skills. Yes, in Blazor.NET, WebAssembly, .NET 8, and a lot, web service, and etc. So if you're interested, check the video description, and I have an email that you can write to me through it. The source code of this project would also be available. So if you want to also grab this, check the video description for the link. Alright, so without wasting much time, I have this project built already. We're going to go through it, and we're going to do something similar or same to this. Okay. Now that is a login page. As soon as you run this project, you have your login page for you to log in. Now, defaultly, we're supposed to add database seeding so we can seed default user account. But well, I created an endpoint or an interface whereby as soon as you run the app, it will just check if admin account is not created. It's going to create it automatically. So with this, you don't need to perform database seeding. But well, if you want to, you can choose between. Okay, you can choose using the seeding or this one. You can choose, but I decided to use this. So maybe you can also do it based on the choice of yours. All right, now I'm going to log in here. So I'm going to use the default one as an admin at admin, and it's admin at 123. That is the default account created for the administrator. So when you log in, let's see the interface. All right, so you can see that when you log in, you have this. This is static rendering, and this we are using a stream rendering. So you can see we have this, which looks like a graph. The graph, yes. So you have all this, and this is just a summary of what we have in our database. Talking about product audit analysis. So I grouped them in months. So within the month, the number of product audit, the amount, you can see you can find it on top in dollars. And I have that symbol also in there. Now the second one, you can see here we have, I also grouped them product name and our quantity. So within a year or within 12 months, each product and the number of times or the number of or the quantities ordered. So we have the first one, we have this a quantity on top. You see these are the quantities specified on top. So this is just a grouping, and you create a graph and implement that. Okay. And in here, this is just gives you a summary. So I need not to talk about this. You've seen it already. So yeah, so only for today and etc. It's over there. But you can just group, you can customize this to suit what you want. Okay. That is what I made. You can also customize this to suit what you want. Aside from that, when you check on top here, you can see we have these are the, are they badges? Yes. So this gives you real-time update. As soon as the user orders, you're going to see it in here. So defaultly, if I click on order, if I order something from the warehouse, the administration is going to see it in over here. For now, we have the current orders that we have is 7. The current order delivering product is 2. Delivered is what, 3, and now cancelled orders is what, 2. So you can click on any place. So if I click on this, you will see we are navigating to the orders component, and now we specify in the process. You can see this is processing, and that is this one. So that's the state. So as soon as you do that, it's going to search for that, and it's going to give you all the products which have this processing. So we have all these are fresh ones. You see we have the processing. Now you can also click on delivering, the ones on the way. So these two are what delivering. So you can see we are making a search. Whether you are in here, you're in the home page, or you're outside a page. When you're outside the page, you're going to be using route parameter, and when you're inside here, you're going to be using just an on-click and filter. Okay, so that's what we're using. You can see from here to delivered, you can make a search and get all those cancelled as well. Now, when you come here, there is a home. It takes you back to the same place. That is the home page. And aside from that, you see we have user management. Now, since I am administrator, I can log out. Now from user management, I can add user, I can manage user, and also I can check user activity. So all activities done on the system is going to have a record of them in here. So if I click on add, here I can add user. So you can see it's going to navigate us to a component where we can add user. So here you can add a new user. You can just fill the file. Now here we're going to select the policy, and you can just create, if you're an admin, manager, or user, you create a password for this user. And as soon as you're done, the user can now log in. When you go to manage to, now this manage, you can see all users created or all users for the system. Talking about administration, talking about managers, talking about users, which is the shop. So you can see we have users here, shop B and then shop A. If you want to see the claims of each, just click on this, and we see that is the row is what user. You have an email, and now create. These are the claims. So for create is false, update is false, delete false, read is false, user management is false. So it tells you that user can only has a row of user and an email, and that is all. The rest are what false, because user does not have access to the system. What user can do alone is to make an order. This user here talking about shop, so you can make an order of product, and that is all. So that you can see all these are false. You can also edit this in case you want to change the row. Maybe this user want to give this user an administration rights. You can just click on edit, and now you're going to have a pop-up that you can just set everybody to true. You see that? You can just choose a row in here, and now you can just choose to manage user, change, create. You can do that. Okay, as soon as you save, it get notified. So let's try one and see. So let's say manage user, I set it true, click on save. Now this is going to save it. So as soon as it's done, you're going to see that here's going to turn to true. Check it out. You see, yeah, it is. So let's set this again to false. And that is it. So you can also change user in here. When you go to the administration too, you can also do same. So you can see from the administration, you see it has a row of what admin. There's an email, and I'll create to user management. They are all true. So that's it, that each person has a complete access to the system. He can perform, he can see, he can do everything on the system. So that's what it has in here. When you go to manager, it has what? Create true. It has delete false, and our user management is false, because manager cannot add user. Management or manager cannot delete product. That is what I set up too. You can also change this. Okay. And when you go to shop A, you see the same. So shop A and shop B, these are users. This is an administrator overall, and this is a manager. So these are the current policies that I implemented here. 3. Okay. You can go beyond this, extend more. Good. Now, aside from that, when you go to the next one, that's an activity log. So all activities done on the system is going to be managed in here. So when you check this, you see we've grouped them by date. So 23rd April, this 23rd, 24th, 25th. Now if you click on this, you see this is what has been done on the system within that date. So you can see from here that create new user method called. Now we created new users. So the first 3 for new users, create categories, create location, then as you can see from this, create category method called again, and now create product. Now get all users with claim method called, and etc. So all these are the methods, okay, in our system. We want to keep track of them, and if you want to know the details of it, you can just click on this, and to tell you the name, the executed by, and the state. Was it true or it wasn't? You can also see this. So this is going to be a backlog for that admin to check up and see if there's an issue or the process happened on the other processes happening on the system. We can also have a look in here. Okay. Then when you go to the next one, so we're done with user management. When you go to the next one, that's the product management. So here you can add products, you can add category and location. So when you start with location, so with location, you can see that you can just create location, and it's using an ID of GUID, and you can just edit this or delete this. See, so you can edit, and now if you want to edit, you have this pop up to edit. And if you want to also add location, so create new location. So you can see you have create new location, and if I click on this, you have an update location. You see? Okay, but this is supposed to be add. So this is a bug that we need to fix. We do that, okay? we do that. All right, then you can see we have this breadcrumbs in here, which tells you where you are currently. You can also click on it to go back. Aside from that, you have the same thing for categories. You can also do the same with the categories. So as you can see, you can just create, you can also delete it, and confirm, delete, and etc. You can also delete them as well. Okay, then last one here, and that is a product. So here you have all the products. Now you can delete it, since because you're an admin, you can delete product, you can view, you can edit it, you can just print it or convert to PDF, Excel, you can print it, and etc. Okay, and now you have this pagination as well. So you can see the description, and we have the price, the quantity, the category name, the location name, the serial number, and etc. So these are the properties that are included. You can also define your own properties for this. Now if I click on this, let's say before you can view this, you must have this selected. So when you refresh this and you do not select any of the properties, any of the records here, click on view, and it tells you no row selected. So you're also using toast here to display any error in it. And I click on edit to, the same thing, but delete to, the same thing. But as soon as I click on this, I click on delete, then are you sure I want to delete this? If I click on yes, it's going to just delete this, and I'm going to get this product code again, so this can be removed from the database table. Okay, now if I click on view to, it sends me to this place where I can view it. So I have the product description down in here. There's the product name, I have the date added, product ID, the product image, serial number, category, location, price, and the quantity. Okay, I can just close this to return back home, or I can click on this breadcrumb to navigate me to the next or the previous page. And when it gets to the edit, you can also click on this, and you have this to edit. So you can do everything here, and I click on save. Now this is also going to be saved. Click on PDF, and I'm just going to create a PDF file for this, as you can see from here. Excel, you can also do same Excel. Now if I click on print, this is going to also print the current context in here, and see it's still loading. So you're going to get this printed. Yes, so you can also do that. You can also group this, and that is a data grid from Syncfusion. So it has a lot of properties that you can decide which one to use. So you can group this based on it. It could be an ID, could be date, just drag and drop, and I'm going to group this in date for you. You can sort this ascending or descending. You can do that. Then you can also make a search here. You can search what name, description, and then serial number. So if you want to get a specific product, just pass the serial number like this. So I'm going to clear this, passing the serial number in here, and now this is your number. Let's say this one. Then hit on the enter key. You can see we have only that specific item in here. Then you can now click on view to view the item details. So that's a search. You can search on that based on the name, description, or serial number. You can also add products here, and it's the same. And now in here we are using a component that I created. So this is the file upload component. So if you want to upload file in here, let's say I have these motorcycles that I want to upload. So I click on the first one or any. Then you can see that here I have this loader which loads from 0 up to 100%, telling the state of this package. Okay, the state of the file that you selected. Okay, you can just select a category and I'll do the normal stuffs in here, and I click on save product to get this product saved. And also when you go to the others, you can now see all others. So you can see we have processing. So these are the states. As soon as the user ordered product, this is the state, the default state that's for processing. Then if you've delivered it, you can just click on this, choose this. If you are now delivering, you can just choose this. And if you've canceled the product or the order, then you can also use this. As soon as you perform any of the tasks in here, it gets notified on the client system for him or her to know that the state of this current order that he made has been changed. Okay, you can also go back and you can just cancel order in here. You can update the order. So click on this and I click on update order. You can change the delivery date and also the state. Is it in delivered mode? Is it in delivery mode? So you can also do that in there. All right. Now, once you have this one, you can just minimize it to have only the icons, whereby you have the sidebar activated. So you can add, you can manage, you can activity. Yes, you can see it in here, and the same thing applies to any of this. Then you have the administrator who you can just log out. Aside from that, you can just minimize this into a small unit. And now here, if I click on this, you have the sidebar as well. So this on a mobile view, you can have the same thing. You see that? The same thing in here. Good. And you can now also do this to log out. Okay. So that is this. Now you're going to log in as manager. You're also going to log in as shop or as user. So we can see the differences between. Now I have an instance of the browser opening here. So cancel this. And I'm going to use manager at manager, because that is the manager that I use when I check this user management. And now you go to manager, you can see we have manager in here, and that is the email. So click on this. So you can just grab this one. Let's go to the instance in here, and the password I think is manager at 123. Now let's log into logging in as a manager. Now you can see from the view or from the manager state, you can see that here manager cannot delete. Let me save this. Manager cannot delete. Manager cannot add manage user. So if I open this, you can see manager does not have user management. Check it out. It doesn't. You can see that. Now check others. If I click on others, let's see what manager can see. Click on others with this one. Now this is going to take us to the order. So you can see from the others we have cancel order and an update order, right? Let's check the user. This is the manager. You can see this manager has cancel order and an update order. Now when you check the other one, let's see, let's check for the product, and you can see that from the product, administrator can delete. You can see it, he has this delete icon, right? Now I want to check the manager. Oh yeah, that's the manager. Click on products, and you can see from the manager, that's the manager in here, manager does not have this delete, so manager cannot delete. You see this? Manager can only view. Now when you go to the, let's say the categories, manager cannot. Let's wait for it to get loaded. You can see manager cannot. You can see that this delete is what blur, so this one is not clickable. Manager can only edit it, but he cannot delete it. Have you seen this? He cannot. Now this is happening because we set the manager delete to what? False, and now user management also false. So when you check the user management and now the manage user, you can see that here this manager here cannot delete. Manager cannot delete. You can see it's set to false. User management is also false. Now when you go to the user, let's see, user has all false, 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 except the role and now the email. Let's create another instance of the browser, and now let's try to log in as user or as a shop, and now let's see what we're going to have in there. So now we are here. Let's go and find the user credentials. So let's say we want to look for shop A, and that's a shop A at shop.a.com. So let's copy this for this user. Now we're logging in as a shop, and now I think it's shop A at 123. That is the password. And I can see we have logged in. So the data that you see here related, it relates to this specific user. Okay, this specific shop. So the order made from that, it is what you see in here, only today and the last month for this specific user or this specific shop. Okay, now you see that is shop A. Now from here, this shop A has 3 processes. So the orders that this shop A made, 3 is in still processing and 2 delivered. No, 2 is on the way coming, 2 delivered, and now 1 cancelled. So let's see, you can see from the user, since he has all the other claims false, he can only see home and now my orders. So when I click on my orders, then it's going to navigate you to the order page for this client or this user. So you can see from here I have this. Now let's see, we want to work with the shop and now the admin. So let me put the admin here. Let me expand this a little bit so you can see. Now we're going to test with the signal R. Okay, so for this, let's say this, for this user, he can cancel this order. So let's say this order in the processing, I want to cancel this. Now check it out from here. If I click on processing, if I click on cancel order must be what? 2, no 3, because currently it's what? 2. Have a look. So I click on cancel and it asks you, are you sure you want to do this? So cancel this order. Now canceling order. So wait and see. This has to be 2 from the client side, and it must update the administration. So let's wait for this and check it out. So make sure you watch the badges to see the differences. Let's wait and see. Now the reason why this is delaying here is we are using an await tax of delay 3000 milliseconds, and that is a 30 seconds or so. And you can see cancel successfully. Now you see from here cancel this for 2, and check it out, he canceled this for 3. Processing is now 6 because 1 has been cancelled, and our processing here it is 2. Okay, now we have 1 here. I'm going to also cancel this. I just want to do this. So now you must have processing as 5, cancelled as what? 4. Processing must be 1 in here, and a cancel must be 3. So have a look. And you can see that here it get changed. So you can see we have here 3, processing is 1, and our cancel is 4, processing is 6. So you can see that there is an administration, there is a client. As soon as client or the shop create an order or do and that, you get notified. Now have a look. I'm going to create an order from the client session. So from here, there is a shop A. As you can see from this shop A, there is a manager, and that is what? Admin. Now shop A wants to create an order. So let's set a product from here. Maybe I'll just choose this product. It tells me the available in stock. Click on OK. Then I can now choose the quantity that I want. I want 75. So as soon as I click on create order, check it out. Processing here, it is what? Default is 2. This is 6. This is 6. Let's check it out. So order placed successfully. And now watch here. You're gonna have 77 for now. So check it out and see. You can see 7, 7, right? And now here has changed to 3. So you can see the manager and now the administrator has been notified. Manager notified, admin also notified. Okay. Now if I click on now, let's see, manager is going to cancel one of the others. So he's going to choose, let's say this. Manager clicks on this processing to get all the processing others. Now from that, this is shop A, so we have shop A, shop B, let's see shop A. So the manager selects it and I click on cancel order. So this must be 2, this must be 4. When you go to the admin, this must be 5, this must be 6. So let's see, manager is clicking on this, cancelled. Are you sure? Yes. Now let's see, this must be updated to 6, while this gets up to 5. This must be 2, this must be 4. Check it out. Yeah, you can see now we have 2, 4, 5, 6. Exactly. So what manager can do is kind of affect the client. The same thing applies to the admin. So you can also try the shop B and it's still going to be the same. Okay, so that is the system that we're going to build. Yes, that's what we're going to build. You and I are going to build together. Now with this, you're going to have a basic setup. You're going to create setup our clean architecture settings. We're going to add our projects and we're going to start doing something. Okay, so without wasting much time here, let's quickly launch our Visual Studio. As you see, I've launched mine, launch yours, and let's create a new blank solution. We're going to add 3 C# class libraries. We're going to add our web UI. And this web UI is going to be the Blazor Interactive Server Render Mode. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Before we jump right in there, you make sure you subscribe to this channel and also click on that bell to receive an update as soon as I do upload a video. I also offer coaching or mentoring to people to improve their skills in .NET, talking about Blazor, Web API service, and etc. So if you're interested, check the video description and I have an email that you can write to me through it. The source code will also be available. Well, if you want to grab it, you can just check the video description as well. Okay, so now let's click on create new project. So in here, the first thing that we need is a blank solution. So let's click on that. You can search it from here. So quickly do that. Click on next. The name of this project is going to be Demo Blazor. IS stands for what? Interactive Server Inventory Management System. Okay. Now let's choose a location to keep the project and now click on create to get this solution created. Let's do that. Well, so the project is now created and now I want to check the solution. We have empty solution. We haven't added any project yet. So now let's go in there and add it. We're going to add 3 class libraries for C# and we're going to be adding our web UI, and that's going to be the Blazor Interactive Server Render Mode. So you can even do this, but also do mine. Okay. Now, you know, from the clean architecture perspective, we have the application, the domain, the infrastructure, and then the presentation. The presentation is the web UI. Okay, good. Now let's see, let's add a new project in here, and this is going to be a C# class library. The first one is going to be an application. So this is my application. Click on create. We're going to add another one, infrastructure, domain. We have other 2 left. Then we have the web UI to be added. That is done. We're going to also add another one to the solution. So we're going to click on the solution, add a new project in here, and that is infrastructure. So maybe we can add that. Infrastructure. So click on next. Let's add this. Next, we're going to add domain. Now the last one that we're going to add here is a presentation. So I'm going to call this web UI. Give it any name of your choice. And there's going to be no more C# class library. There's going to be Blazor web app. And here we need the interactive server render mode. So choose that. So when you check the solution, this is what we have. We have an application, domain, infrastructure, and our web UI. So there's a presentation. We have an infrastructure, we have a domain, and we have an application layer. Okay. The next point here is we're going to be installing packages that we're going to be using throughout this project. Okay. So I'm going to right click on this application as usual. I have the package references set already. So you not to install them anymore. I have them. So I just unload project. Then from the settings in here, I'm going to add them in there. But if you're not having it, please right click on dependencies. Then go to package, manage Nugget packages, and try to install these packages. And I believe you know that, right? You can do it. So please do that. Okay, so this is what I have for application. We're going to be using mediator. We need this dependency injection abstraction, so we can create a service container or dependency injection. We need identity store for extension of application user or identity user. Then we need Netcode-Hub package extension attribute required GUID. So I created this special package to make sure that we required GUID. You know, defaultly GUID has in the point of 000.000.000, right? And if you want to check it with string, it's now empty. It is not now because it has values in there. So if you want to check it, you have to use GUID.empty. So I created this so we can put as an attribute and now guide our properties. Make sure that they are not null, excluding the default value. Okay, so this was a very simple package, but it's very useful in our project. So let's install that. And once I have this, what I'm going to do here is I'll save it and right click on this and then click on reload project with dependencies, and I'm going to have everything installed once and for all. Very fine. So from dependencies packages, you're going to see that I have them in here. That's great. Yes, they are set. Okay, I'm going to do the same to the domain. Do we have any package to install on domain layer? Well, let me cross check. No, we do not. So for domain, we do not have any package now, but maybe you can have it in future. If you want to modify this, you can have that. But for now, what we're going to have there, no package for now. Okay, now let's go to the infrastructure. And now for the infrastructure, we need some packages. So right click on the infrastructure. Maybe you're asking me, so we need Mapstar, we need Mediator, we need anti-framework core, identity UI, SQL Server, and okay, we don't need this. You don't need this for now. Okay, so we can exclude that. So we need Mapstar, and Mapstar looks like that is AutoMapper. So Mapstar is used to map objects, entities to entities, the same as the AutoMapper. Okay, so we're going to use Mapstar. We need Mediator in here. The reason why we need that from this project and this project here is for the application layer. That is, we're going to create our commands and queries. And now when it comes to the handler, we need to implement this. Since it's going to use the EF core or the data access, we need to implement this in the infrastructure. So that's the reason why we're installing this package both there and here. That's great. We need EF core, as you know this already. You need identity UI for signing manager and etc. We need SQL Server for database management, and that's good, isn't it? Fine. Now here, let's reload project dependencies. Yes, and that is it. Okay. Now we're on to the web UI. What are the packages that we need in the web UI? We need a lot. Let's do it. Right click on this. I'm going to unload project again from this web UI. And our web UI, what are the packages that we need here? I'm going to paste them. So we need these packages. We still need a map star in here because we're going to be mapping entities in here. We can map it as well, so we can use it here. Well, else you can, if you want to also map it in the application, you can do that. But the reason why we are using map star here is when it comes to editing, we want to map one entity to another entity because we're going to be using a lot of DTOs in here. So we cannot be doing everything in the application. Some petty things, it must be done in the UI. So we also need this. Else we have to manually map ours, and we want to skip that stress. Or do you want to do that? I'm not sure. Yes, we want to skip that, isn't it? So that's the reason why we need to use that. Then we need an SQL, Microsoft Netcode.SQL, or is it SQL signal-r.client, because you're going to be communicating from the client and now the admin server and now the admin. So there must be a communication, and in terms of communication, wow, signal-r is the best. So we need to install that. We need the EF-core.tools to perform migration. Then we need Blazor, so we can have access to our drop down. That is the that node. You can just click on it, get a drop down. Yes, and we need breadcrumb from packages. One of the packages that I created for when I started this project. So it's going to allow us to see our breadcrumb. We can actually set our own breadcrumbs, and we can set our links in there. Very simple, but it's amazing. Okay, we have a data grid. You know this already. I've introduced the data grid already. Very simple table. We support visualization, but for now we're not going to use visualization. We're going to use a normal table from the Bootstrap class. Then we need file upload, an amazing package that you love it when it gets there. This package gets you the base64 string of an image that you just select. You don't need to write any code again to encrypt it or to change to base64. No, it is done already. That's fantastic. So you're going to love it when it gets there. Now we have a modal we're going to be using dynamically to show confirmation and also to pop up a form that we can type. Okay, we have validation, so you can give us access to the progressive validation system. Once you type, it does the validation. You don't need to finish typing, click on submit before validation takes place. No, as soon as you type, you know what you're doing. Then we need this. This is the most amazing package ever. That is a template. I made a template from this Bootstrap templates all around. So I made a package from that, and that is what you're going to be using. You're going to have a sidebar, and we're going to have a nav bar nicely designed. And yeah, for now it's still in the development stage, but it's amazing. So you will love it as well. I hope you saw it from the preview version or the overview. Then we need syncreation.blazor.chat because you saw chat in there, so definitely we're going to be using that. We need blazor.grid, and I see you saw that. We need navigations in there so we can have access to our paginations and a lot, and we need the themes. Okay, so these are the packages that we need. So pause the video and install these packages one after the another. If you don't have the package reference like this, but the one thing here is when you install Syncfusion, we must have a license key. That's a fact. If you don't have it, go to the Syncfusion site. You can just claim free license key. Then you can re-sign it in here, and I'm enjoying. Okay, I also made a video on how to claim free community license key. Check the video description. I'll put a link in there. That's fine. Now let's save this. I'm going to right click on this, go to reload project with dependencies, and fine, everything is out. So I can just build this project together to see that everything is on its way. It's important to do that. Oh, fantabulous. You have everything. Okay, for succeeded. That's great. Okay, so here, this project for organization purpose, organize your work in folders. Okay, so you don't just mix them across the project. No. And if you organize your work too, it makes it more readable for you. Okay, you know where it is, the folder name, you know where they are, can group them nicely. So in here, we're going to the domain, and within the domain, I'm going to create a folder for this. And I'm going to say this is the entities folder. Now in entities folder, I'm going to create, maybe we can start working with the authentication for this. And that's the cookie authentication before we come to the next aspect, okay? And when it comes to the authentication, we do not need any model here because you're going to implement the identity manager. So we're not going to be using our own way. So these models are created already for us. So what we need to do here is to create a BB context class. We can create an extension of the identity user. So we can add an extra properties that we need. Okay, then we can just start with a migration. Very simple one. So let's create a folder here to the application, and I'm going to name this as extensions. Now in the extensions, I'm going to create another one, and with this, I'm going to name it as identity. So in the extensions, I'm going to create one, and I name it identity. And now inside this folder, I'm going to create a class known as application user. You can see in here, I am just extending the identity user class, which is an inbuilt from the EF core or the web UI package that we installed. And in that, you have this name in here. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click on this, click on the application. Then I'm going to disable this nullable. I hate this. I hate it so much. Okay, so I'll disable this, but I can decide not to disable yours. So mine is disabled. Now, once we're done with this, we need to create another one in the same application. You know, that is where we need to create our interfaces, isn't it? So we can create a folder in here, and I name it as interface. And now with this interface, we need an identity. So maybe I can just create another folder in the interface, name it identity, and in that I'm going to create an I account, and this is going to be the identity. So that is the namespace, the interface, and I account. And we have login, we have create user async, we have get users with claim async, we have update user async, we have get activities async, and save activities. So with the update user async, I did not implement this. Okay, this method we're going to create, but I did not implement from the UI, and that's going to be the work of use. So you can actually do that. But we're going to have the definition for this, and maybe we see if we can connect it to our UI. Okay. Now, all these red lines, what do they mean? What are they here for? These are models that we need to create. They are DTOs that we need to create. So you can see from, if you be watching my videos, you know, service response, I have a way of handling errors and handling responses from our access, data access, and a lot. So normally I do create a class or a record to actually handle that. These are the payloads coming in, or these are the DTOs that we're going to be using. Okay, so let's create these DTOs, and the DTOs must come in the application layer. So we can create a one big giant folder, and I'll name it as DTO. So here, that's the name of the folder, DTO. Now the DTO, you know, we have two types of DTO, and I believe you know this already, isn't it? Request and response. So request is what's sending to the server. Response is from the server. So let's have these two. We have our request, then we have our response. So within these two folders, you must put everything that you want, and every model that I want to create should be one a response or a request. Aside from that, I don't know if you're going to have anything else. Well, okay, so in our request we need maybe identity, and now so I'm going to create identity for this from our request. So this is our request. I'm going to create a folder in the request, and the name is identity. Now inside this identity, I have 3 or 4 properties in here. I have the change user claims request DTO, and this is inheriting from the base user DTO or base claims DTO. So this is going to be the base one. I also have create user request. So this is going to allow us to create user. And in here we need a policy. So before you create user, you need policy, you need confirm password, you need the name, and you need some properties from this login user request DTO. So, you know, inheritance is very important as far as programming is concerned. Now have a look. You can see I have this login user request DTO. So if I go to login user request DTO, I have this regular expression here. I have an email, I have password. Now with this email and password, I'm going to be using it in the create account, because before you create an account, you must specify an email and password. So instead of you repeating them here, you can inherit from this. Very simple one. So inheritance allows you to inherit or use properties from another class. And that is very fine, fantastic. Okay, so you can actually do that. And we have that. So these are the packages. These are the classes or the DTOs that we need. Okay, from the regular expression, here there is a password to allow you to enter uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and numeric as well. Now from email, you must have @ symbol in it. You must have dot in it as well. In case you do not, then this is going to be their message that you're going to show. All right, now you have our policy in here. So for our policy, we have 3 policies for now, as I explained in the overview. We have an admin, we have manager, we have user, because these policies are predefined. So but user can switch and assign user to another policy. You can do that. So maybe admin, you can change the admin to user. You can also change user to an admin. But these are the default setup policy against this system. We have our role claims in here. We have an admin, manager, and a user. So this is what you need. When configuring our policies, we're going to use maybe required role, admin, required role, manager, required role, user. So it's better that we keep it like this form. Okay, these are all static classes. So their instances are created once and for all. You don't need to be creating instance all the time that you want to use. Okay, to reserve the memory, reserve there to make the system free. Okay, fine. Now that we have our identity for our request, maybe let's see if we have anything under our response which is limited to identity. So if you take a close look from the request, some of them are inheriting from this base, but this is not found. Yes, it is found in the response. Okay, so from the response, you also have the same identity in the response. And in there, we have the base user claims. Now, this base user claims contains the user ID, name, role name, manage user, read, delete, update, and then create. You can see these are all Boolean expression. They are all Boolean expression in here. These are the string properties here. Now, this is what we're going to be using to update user. If you want to change user's role, if you want to update user information, defaultly from user perspective, all these are set to false. Okay, for admin, all these are set to true, except for manager, all these are set to true except delete, which is set to false, and our manager is also set to false. But for admin, they are all true. Okay, so if you want to change them, you can change them using this. So you can change. These are all claims that you're going to set. So it's much or less a claim-based authorization, but which get involved with the policy. So we're going to use the policy, roles, and our claims, okay, to manage our system dynamically. Good, and I believe you love it. Okay, so aside from that, we have get user with claims response DTO. We're going to be getting user. We want to get the user claims as you saw in the preview. So we want to get the claims of each user and display in the UI so that admin can update it. And in that, we're going to create this a class in here which has only one property as a email, and which is inheriting from this base claims DTO. So if I peep this definition, we have all this, and we're going to add the email to this so we can have access to all the properties of this user. So with that, in case the user wants to update it, that's great. You can do it with ease. Good. Now we have this set. So we have identity from our response and our request set. So we can now go ahead and then create our repo and start with it. So we cannot start here without setting up our AppDB context or setting up our connection string, because it's very, very important. So you make sure that we have it set. So we have a connection strings, and the name is default, a server is local, and here I'm going to make it YouTube demo IMS inventory management system. Change the name to yours, and that'll be all. Okay, transfer certificate to true, and then transfer connection to also true. Good. Now, for organization purpose, we're going to create a data access, a folder in here from the infrastructure, and name it as data access. Well, some people name it as data, and you can also name it a name of your choice, but make sure that it suits what you're doing. Okay, so that's a data access or data. And now in that, I'm going to create AppDB as a class in there. So I click on this. You're going to add a class for this, and I name it as app.db contest. You can make it as db contest. Any name of your choice, you can give it to this. Now this class is going to inherit from identity db contest and db contest, and also we need an application user. So control period, we need to include this add reference to application. That is where this extension is found. So we can do that in here simply. Okay, this sets. So after doing this, we need to register our database connection string, and I know that is a lesson which pops into your mind, isn't it? Good. So in order to do that, we're going to create a folder for this, and I name it as dependency injection. So we're going to create a service container for that. And now within that, we're going to create a class, and I'm going to name this class as service container. So just add a class to this. And that is going to be dependency. Whoa, this is a service container, not dependency injection. I'm going to do it again. So that must be a class of service container, no more dependency injection. Okay. And now in that, we need to configure some services in here, especially our DB contest class. We need to also add our policies and a lot. Okay. So maybe this is what we can do. Okay, so this is what we need. Now when you check on when you take a close look here, you will see that we are returning our service collection because we're going to be using this in the identity, right? We're going to be using this in the web UI. Okay, so in here we need an iService collection. So we are explicitly referring the iService collection in here. Then we're going to be using our configuration or the config because we're going to be using an app setting.json for our connection string. In that, we're going to use an SQL because the package that we installed, SQL Server, we get our connection string. And now we need to specify our scope lifetime, that is scope. Our scope lifetime, our scope, right? This is going to be the service lifetime, and this is going to be a scope, okay? So to the whole application, you're going to create an instance once for the whole application. We need to register our identity manager. So we need our identity constant in here, which is coming from this ASP Netcode identity. And we need to add cookie. We add our service as well for signing manager. You know, we are not adding row authorization, so we don't need row. Row is found in the policy. Okay, so we are not explicitly adding row to this. But if you want to add row, maybe you can modify this. As I said earlier on, this system is open to modification, so you can modify it if you know what you're doing. Good. Then we're going to be adding token provider defaultly because signing manager must provide a token, and it must come from these two guys in here. Okay, that's where the magic comes in. We're going to be using our authorization builder, our policies. So here we have only 2 policies, but the rows here are 3 rows. 2 has been joined to 1 policy, and another one is also in another policy. And that's what you can see from here. We have administration policy, which comprises of an admin or manager. Then we have a user policy, which has only the user. The reason why I made this and the both here is, before you can have access to all components which have this administration attribute or policy specified on it, you must be an admin or manager. So when this happens, admin and manager are going to have the same role. You're going to have the same power, okay? Because what admin can see, manager can also see. No, in that system, it's not going to happen. That's the reason why we are introducing the claim-based authorization. So manager, you can see add users. Admin can also see add users. If manager wants to restrict you, just set the read or manage user to false as a claim. Now, when you get to that component, on that specific feature, we check, do you have a claim manager set to true? If yes, then please go ahead and I'll watch this. If not, then skip it. That's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to switch off and on, okay, between the manager and the admin. Admin can see everything. Therefore, manager, you must be restricted. Else, something bad will happen in the near future. Yes, trust me, something will happen. If you give all the right to manager, you just overturn the admin and become the boss of the system. We don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that we maintain that kind of level. All right, so we have 2 policies, and that is it. Good. I hope you've done that. So let's save this. You can close this peacefully. Now we have our database connection string created. We have it registered. We have it configured. And then the next thing we can do here is we can build project and perform our database migration. And that's going to be the first migration ever. So let's do that. When building, and I forgot one thing. We did not create our service responses. Yes, we did not create that. So quickly we can create to get this problem solved. And from our response, this is going to be a response, so we can put it in a response DTO. From the DTO, the second type as a response DTO, we can have a service response in here. Good. And for easy access, let's make this package. Let's make this references, okay? From the infrastructure is going to depend on the application, and I believe you know that, isn't it? Good. So if you haven't checked that, you can check the video from the clean architecture, and I made that clear. So it has already been referenced. Now, application also needs domain, so we can set this straight. Domain. And now the boss here, infrastructure needs what? Application. We've done that already. Web UI needs application, and it needs what? Infrastructure. Why? Because of the service. We need to raise our service, and that's the only thing that we're going to be doing. There won't be any interaction between the service, the infrastructure, and now the UI, aside from the service. Okay, so let's dependencies, add package reference, infrastructure, application. We add them like this. Good. Now when you go to the, where is it? When you go to the request or identity, change user, which inherits from the base, it's solved now. Which taking in, not this one, isn't it? That should be the interface. This must be solved. So we need an activity tracker for now. I'm not sure we're going to be doing this for now, so we can comment this. This will come later on. Today we want to focus on the authentication. Good. So we can just remove unnecessary ones. And now let's build this again. All right, so you can see that succeeded, 4 succeeded, and 0 failed, 0 skipped, so everything is fine. Well, the next thing they're going to do here is we're going to perform a database migration. So start doing yours. Let me also do mine. We go to package manager console, but before that, you must set the web UI as a startup. So take note, set this as what? Good, startup. From here, choose the infrastructure. That is where you have a data access. Add migration. This is initial. This is the first one. Okay. Whoa, I forgot this. We need to erase this. You can see we are having this. It doesn't know this. So we need to do that. And from that section, we can go to the application or the web UI. And now from the web UI, we need to configure the application and the infrastructure. We need to configure them in there. So in here, for now, we haven't created any service container for the application yet. So what we have here, it is the infrastructure. And now for the infrastructure, we need to specify a parameter that is a build configuration. So let's put it down here. And this is coming from, if we need to manage the namespace, so using application. This is an application, this is infrastructure. So the dependency injection. Okay. Now let's go ahead and perform our migration again. Okay. So let's update our database. Yes, and that is it. So you can check the database out from this section. SQL Server Object Explorer. We choose our server here as a local one. Database. Then YouTube demo, we have it. So if I open this table, you see we have a lot of DB tables here from the Identity Manager. So we have all these tables, and that is what you're going to be using. Good. So now let's go to our Solution Explorer, and after creating this, what is the next thing to do? So you know that we have our interface created already. So what you do here is to create our repo. So I'm going to create a folder here, infrastructure, repository, and in that you're going to create a class account, which is going to inherit from the interface that we created, and that's going to be an account. So now with this account, want to check here. So with this interface, or this repo, not the interface, I don't want to confuse you today. Sorry for that. Now with this repo, you can see we are using user manager in here. We pass in application user. We have assigning manager as well. And aside from that, we have our AppDB context class specified in here. This we are not going to use, but we're going to be using it later on. So maybe we can keep it, or we can remove it. When the need arises, we're going to add it in there, which inherit from the interface that we created. Now for administration or for authentication, I did not use CQRS because it's just a simple one that I'm creating, and I don't need to be creating handline and that because I'm not going to extend much. I'm going to spend much time here with authentication. Okay, I create my user, I create the claims, I save it, I return it, and that is all. So you're not to be using CQRS in this. But well, if you know you have a lot of things to do in the authentication system, you can decide to use a CQRS pattern, and it's fine. But here I'm using the traditional one, the one that we know already, the fact one. Okay, so here we have this create user async, which takes in the payload of create user request DTO. Now in there, we're going to check user is not null. We're going to create a class in here, which we'll be using often. So here we are implementing one of the principles, and that's a drag, repeat yourself, because you're going to be using this often. So it's better that we put it in a private class that we can be using it. You can be calling anytime that we want. Okay. So if this is not now, you want to return service response because before you create an account, you must not have an account already. You cannot create two accounts. Our system will not permit you with the same email. So you must make sure you have a different one. Okay, if it doesn't have any existence of one and already email used, then we're going to create an instance of the application user. And in here, we're going to create a user. So we specify the user and now the password. Then the results here, we're going to return. In case it is false, we want to return the response. Now why? Because here we have a simple class that we create, and this class checking the response of this create user. So check response, it is down in here. Now for check response is checking if it succeeds, it's going to return true. In case it isn't, you're going to select the error in there and now return it in the form of a service response. So when it comes to the create, it is going to return service response. As you can see from here, the return type is service response. And here to this, we are also returning service response. So directly we can return it straight ahead to this. But in case it is not, then we want to create user claims. So as soon as you create an account, you want to create a default claims for you. And what are these claims? That's what we specified. You're going to have the row. You're going to have the claim set. Create, read, update, and delete. Is it true? Manage user. Is it true? These are the claims that we need. So if it returns true that the account has been created, then the next thing here is to create your user claims. Okay, so we call this method. Now there's a method down here, and now we're also checking the policies. So in case the policy that the user selected, is it an admin, is it user, or is manager? So in case there's no policy attached to this, we want to return it on top there, line 37, you return it. In case it is, then we're going to create a list of claims in here. Then we're going to check, is it admin policy? If yes, it tells you that this person is an admin. Then please do create an account and set all these claims to that person. set create everything to true, and that is it. Else, if it is a manager policy, do the same. If it is user policy, the same. But here, no, we're setting this manager user to false, and our delete is false. The same thing applies to the user policy. Everything is false except the row and the email. Yes. Okay. Aside from that, add the claim that we created, add to the user. So before that, we have to specify the user. So we find user by email. Now the results in here, definitely this will not return now. That's why I'm not checking now in here. Okay. Because the user has been created recently, and when you find it, it's going to be there. So, and we pass on the claim that we created. Return true if everything works. If not, return the results as an issue, because we're also checking for a response, which will return the error description in case something happens. Good. Now for login, we're doing the same. We find the user by email, and here we verify password and we sign in. In case it works, we're going to sign in there. So we sign in with password. We're going to return the claims of the user, and we pass in the user and the password. And here its lockout is false, and remember me also false. You want to keep the person for a long time. Short, it's fine for me. Okay, now here, if it returns false, you want to return this. But in case it returns true, then please do return true. We don't want to return any message, because here you logged in and the app is going to refresh, so nothing to be shown again. Find user method, a private method that you created, and this is find user by ID. You're going to be find user by ID. So here we want to find user by ID. So this two, we have email and an ID. So for now, we are not using ID. Maybe later on we're going to be using later on. But for now, there's no ID using here. We have only the email. Good. Then you have a check response class defined already. And here I want to check this get users with claim async. You want to get all users and their respective claims. So you create a list, then we get all users. We're going to loop through all users, and I'm going to find user by ID. That's why we are using this. Find user by ID. When you get it, get the user's claim, and I'll create a list, populate it, and I return. So user ID equal to this, email, row, name, manager, create. Is it true or false? So here it is going to be string, true, false, true, false. So you're going to convert into Boolean, and that's how you're using this. Convert to Boolean. We specify the claim in here as main user, create user, update, delete, and I read. And that is all. It's very simple. Good. Return the list. And now here we're going to set up. So this is the default one, as I said earlier on. We can be using database seeding to seed admin details as soon as the app starts. Well, I also create an endpoint that you can be called as soon as the app starts. So it is the same, right? If you want to, you can choose one, database seeding or manual seeding. Yes. Okay. Now that is it. So we create user response. We specify the policy as an admin policy, and this is a credential for default one. Then we call create user. Okay, so we pass in all this. Now that's an update user. For update user, I did not implement an endpoint for this. Maybe you can have an UI. I created an endpoint. I have everything set, but there's no UI attached to, and that would be your assignment if you want to actually add that. So therefore, you're going to update it in here for all the claims, update from the current one that is coming in, and that is the same thing. Okay, so get claims from the user. Then inside that, we want to specify the create, update, read, manager, and delete. Maybe you want to, I think this is, yeah, we're using this. That's fine. Yeah, we're using it because user manager can update user details. Okay, and this method is going to be called. Yes, so sure, we're using that. And we want to, so once you have a new claim, we want to remove the old one, and I'll check the response. If it's true, assign the new one. Okay, so you say remove claims, then add new claims. Good. Then return user updated. Fantastic. And that is it. Very simple one. The reason why I commented this here is, from the UI, admin wants to manage all activities happening or being performed by the client or the manager, I said whoever it is. So here you want to keep track. If you add a new product, you want to get it notified. You want to keep it. But for now, you're going to work on it after the authentication. Okay, that's the second layer. So the first layer here, the base one, is authentication, and that is what we are focused on, isn't it? Good. Great. So now we have this. We have this set. We're going to create DI, dependency injection, in this. So let's go to our service container. And in our service container, we can specify service.ascope, iAccount, and the account. So service container, iAccount and account. You can specify it down here. So that's the interface, and that is so using application the identity the account, yes, using this one. So now that we are done with this, we need to create service in the application, so we can be using this interface in there. So right click on this, we can create a folder known as service. And now in that service, we can have our interface and we can have our implementation as well. So in that service, we can have this. Maybe I can put as identity or like that. Okay. So we have an account, iAccount service. And on this iAccount service, let's comment this. We're going to be using this later on. We have login, create user account, get user with claim async, setup async, and update user async. Okay. So this is the same thing that we did in the interface. We also create same in here. Now for this account definition, we need to create a repo for this. This is not a repo, implementation for this. Okay. So in the account service, we are. So let me just comment this in here. Good. We'll come back to this later on, don't worry. Now I'm going to remove unnecessary ones. So we are inheriting from this, and now we inject the interface, create account, passing the payload, and the same thing in here. From login to, we're also doing same. Setup, we're also doing the same thing. Update, we're also doing the same update. Okay. So once you have this, you can decide to skip this and implement this straight ahead in the UI, but the best practice here is to use this. Okay. Create a service for that, so that if anything happens, you know where to locate it. Now, aside from doing this, we can have to create dependency injection. So let's also create the same service container for this application. So we're going to also create the same thing in here. So let me just add a folder to this and name it the same name that we did. And in here, we need a service container. So with this service container, we need only this. Our account service, we create a DI in here. Okay. And now when you go to the web UI, we can then go ahead and now use this service in there. So blazor.services.add application service. So we can do that simply in the program.cs file in the web UI. So down here, we add that as well. And still using application.dependency injection. Good. So let's add this to the service container from the infrastructure. Since we're going to be using that, we have it in here, we can be using the cascading auth states, because now we can register the service down there and straight ahead. We are good to go. Okay. So now we are done with the authentication system for the application layer. We are done from the infrastructure layer. Now, which one left? I know you're saying it is a web UI, and that's good. So let's also handle that. And that's where we're going to create our UI. Okay, so our login and registration and a lot and etc. So we need to create that in the web UI. So let's go in there and do that. I can just minimize all this and open the web UI, as you can see here. So in our UI, maybe we can go to first component layout. And on this layout, maybe we can add a folder and I'll name it as identity, so that you know that this is related to identity stuff. We need to create our authentication layout. So that is the front face. As soon as you line the app, you must have login, and at the background is white. We have nothing to display except the login form. Okay. So we have authentication layout down here, created beautifully. Very simple one, the bootstrap class, container fluid. We have a deflex in the middle, and that's what we have in here. Very simple one. Okay. Good. Now, once you're done with this, we are going to create our identity validating AuthStateProvider, and this is going to be the sign out. Let's say the sign out manager. It's going to sign out the user. Okay. So in here we have our. We're going to check from here. We're going to check. We're going to have a time span here to check to validate the user. As soon as the connection is still open. So with this is a default one from the, when you use the default one, the default settings, individual account, this is the default one. I just made a copy from that and I'm pasting it in here. So you can just go in there and now check that. Okay, so we just have to create a service, register the service, which we create a time to validate to check if the user is still in existence. We check, we validate the user at some times, then that we are, that's petty stuff that we're doing in here. Okay, so that is this one. And aside from creating this user, creating this identity validating AuthStateProvider, which is going to check the user if the user exists, the user authenticated, is going to validate the user a couple of times frequently. We have to also create our endpoint, and this endpoint must be a sign out. So if the user wants to sign out, we need to create an endpoint for that. So sign out endpoint, and within the sign out endpoint, we are returning this our endpoint convention builder. It is also from the default one, so you can just go in there and now take a look. And here we are just returning account login. Just that I made a slight modification to this. Okay, so it's the same. Account /login, that's the component. As soon as I click on logout, and now in here you can see we have this sign in manager. Now we are signing out. This is going to clear the cookie from the cookie. Oh, this is going to clear the token from the cookie storage. Yes. To clear the token or the cookie token from the cookie storage. Yes, that's fine. Yeah, okay. And at the endpoint is account /logout. And we can have redirect to login. So we can be using this in the route component to specify if the user wants to access a protected component whereby that specific user is not authenticated, then redirect to the login. Please go and log in because you're not allowed to do that unless you are logged in. So we can create that component in there. So once you're done with this, we need to register this sign out endpoint. So we can do that down here. So app.map sign out endpoint. Okay. And also we need to register the identity validating AuthStateProvider that we created. So we can also register that down here. So builder.scope.ascope authentication state provider, then specify the name of the class that we created. That is this one, okay, which is responsible for validating the user within the time span specified in here, 20 seconds. Okay, so you can increase this to 30 seconds, the time that you want, but I think when you have like this in seconds, it's fine. Good. So now let's go in there and create a login and a register components. Okay, so we go to the pages, right click on that, and we're going to add a new folder for this, and we say this is identity. Maybe we can remove all these counters because we don't need the home page. We don't need this weather forecast. Yes. So inside this identity, maybe we can specify our import file in identity. So you have an import file which having this allow anonymous, which is using this iAccount service as well. So we need to include that. For now, we can comment this. Okay. So we have allow anonymous and we have this account service injected. Now we can create a component, and this component is known as access denied. That is, if you are not authorized, let's say you are authorized and you want to access a component whereby you do not have a claim set to that component, although you're authorized, this is going to be 403, right? Forbidden. So this, we want to have a representation of this, and we want to name it as access denied. Now this access denied, we have sorry you do not have access, although you are logged in, but you do not have access. Okay. For now, we have this two-session template, and this is coming from the template. We are not using it for now. So maybe when the time comes, we're going to we are going to uncomment this. So let's comment this for now. And aside from that, we're going to have our authentication page. So this is going to be the home page. As soon as the user or as soon as the person launches the app, this is the home page, authentication page. Now in here, we are using this authentication state. And it's coming from this. So we can move it and I'll paste it into the import. Okay, so we have this auth state, and we want to check, is the person is authenticated? If yes, navigate to the home page. If no, then please go to the login. So in this import, we can inject, so navigation manager, then we say this is nav manager. So this is going to redirect the user back and forth. Okay, so we have them in here. So this is going to be a home page, as you can see from the route, the home page. So anytime that you launch the app, there's a landing page. Yes, and this landing page is going to check you if you are there. The person who can access this, then do that. If not, they're going to redirect you to the right place. Now you see from here, from the authentication page, as you launch the app, you're going to call the setup async, which is going to set up the admin. Now, when you go in there and I'll check the admin has been created already, it's going to skip that. Okay, so it will create this once and for all. It's like the database seeding. It creates it once and for all. Good. Then let's have our login page. So this is our login component that we have created. And now when you check this we are using static rendering because of the form submission. And so we are not, this page is not interactive. It is there only for form submission. So we cannot validate the user while the user types because it is not interactive. Okay, we cannot have any button and click event attached to this. Only thing that we can do here is submit form, and that is it. And this is possible because of what? This method push that we have specified. So to improve this, we can also add another attribute, and that is an enhance, to improve this. Then we have our input test for email and password. We have a button type as submit, and in that we have this login user request DTO, and this is coming from application.identity. So we can grab this, go to the import, we can paste this here. And the route is account/login. Now when you come here, we have a validation summary to display any results, and we have, in case we have any error for this, we want to display it down here. Okay, now this is happening where you see we have an error message, and now the thing is, login async, we don't want the user to be clicking it more than one, because this page is not interactive. So you must have a mechanism to protect the user from clicking it often. So you can see here, initially we have a property known as is busy, and it's set to false. As soon as we click on this, we set if is busy is true, then return. Defaultly it is false, so it's going to skip this. Error message is null, and we're going to set is busy to true, so it's going to run this. So whilst on the run, unless it finished running before it can set this to false. So whilst on the run, if we click on it again, when it gets to this property will be true, and we're going to return. So it won't execute this. So we put in a stop, and that is a simple one. Put a stop, and that is it. And we are checking in case it is true, then in case the response is true, then we want to navigate to login, we want to refresh it. But in case it is not, you want to return. We don't want to return it to login once your account is, or you have incorrect credentials. Yes. And we display the message from the response in here. So that's why we have this error message equal to the response message, because this endpoint is going to come in with what? With a response. And now that response, we cannot display that response in this validation summary. So we can have to create a property down here. And now you want to toggle between the validation summary and that response. You want to display both at the time, because by the time this is displayed, because this must already pass, because this happens as soon as you click on the button. Check if you are validated or not, or if you are valid. You have provided values to other needful properties. In case it isn't, then we want to display this, and that time this will be off because there's no service call. As soon as service call, it means that this has finished its work, and then we want to display this. That's the reason why I'm using if else to switch and display one at a time. Good. All right, then we have this client service to check in case you are not authenticated, then we want to return. Okay, but this, I'm not sure this is needful. Yeah, this is useful too, because maybe you're authenticated and you want to access this page again. You want to re-log in. You are logged in already, you want to re-log in. No, we don't want to do. We want to prevent it. So that's why we are saying that if you are authenticated already, then go to home. Don't come here again. We don't need you to access this component. Good. So maybe we can go in there and create a simple component in here, and we can name it as maybe content. So in the pages, let's create another one, and there's going to be content. Now this content, let's create a component. I shouldn't have deleted the first one, and now let me make it at home. And now this home, the route is going to be app/home. That's my route. So you can also specify your own route. Okay. And maybe we can have h1 welcome home. Good. Down here. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to run this app and check it out. So let's build this project first. While this is building, we have something to do. Yes, I just remembered. Now, when you go to the route.razor, we need to add this authorized route view. So down here, route.razor. So instead of this route view, we want to make this as authorized. Okay. Now this authorized is coming from authorization. So we can group everything. Let's move this, and maybe we can put this here. Now we go back and it sets, and here we can use redirect to login as soon as redirect to login. So if you're not authorized and you want to access unauthorized content, please go back, go and do the right thing. Good. Okay, so aside from this, what else can we do again? Well, let's check it out. So is it built? One field. Why? Let's find out and see. We're seeing something here. Nav manager does not exist. Why? Are you sure? Nav manager, redirect to login, and it's coming from this. So we made it limited to identity. Nav manager is down here. Maybe from the main one too, we can put it down here. Nothing. Everything. Ruby solution. Everything should be. Yes. Let's wait and see. Oh, great. So yeah, succeeded. Now let's give a try to this. That's our first start running. Let's see what's going to happen. All right, so the app is launched. Let me put it down here. We have an error here. Can you tell the reason why we have this? Can you see it well? Microsoft.ASP.NET.Call.Component.Organization.right view does not have matching name, matching the name chat component, chat content. Yes. The error is coming from here. Yes, that's fine. So you can see from here, this should be not authorized, and that is where this guy must be, like this. I believe he did that. Did not follow me. All right. Okay, so let's rerun it. Oh, okay. So we are in there. Log in. So you have email and password. So let's decide. Now, defaultly, as soon as you run this, default account admin is created. We can try something like user@user.com, user@123. If I click on execute this, let's see, user not found. Yes, it's not found because this user is not registered. Let's check from the our database and see. So ASP.NET users, and you're gonna see that a default admin account has been created as soon as you run the app for the first time. Let's wait and see. Oh, that's fine. That's great. You can see we have it in here. Admin, and that is it. There's a password encrypted nicely. So let's go in there and now log in. With this, if I try to click on app/home, see what happens. Okay, so I'm welcome home. Although I'm not logged in, but I'm able to access this content. Why? Because when you go to this content, we did not protect unauthorized access. So maybe this is all you can do at attribute. For now, we can have this, and you must be authorized before you can have access to this. Attribute, authorize. Okay, now we have this. You can just move this to the import, because this is coming from the identity from login, and you have this import down here, so we can attach this down here. Okay, now let's see from home. Authorize this. Okay, this is coming from the content home, so not here. So this should be imports. Okay, this should be here, and home. Yes. So now if I try to rerun this, so now we are back again. Now let's try. So app/home, and you can see account/login. We are still here. We cannot log in. So now let's use an admin at admin.com. And now the password here is an admin@123. Click on, or if you don't even provide this, tells you yes, password field is required. So this is also working. Now admin@123, click on, and that is it. Click on login. Now let's check it out. Yes, so welcome home. We are back home. Right click on this, go to inspect, and I'll check the cookie and see if we have any token set in there. So application, go to cookie storage down here. Yes, and that is it. That's identity. ASP.NET Code identity, the application. We have a cookie storage down here and it's set. Good. Now let's work on the logouts, and that will be all for this video. So how do I sign out the user? We have the endpoint map already. So all thing that we need to do here is to create a form which submit to this endpoint that you created, and boom, that is all. So let's quickly do that. For now, let's implement it down here. Okay. So let's go to the nav manager. So layout, then we have a nav manager, and maybe down here we can have copy of this, then we can put this in there. So form action is account/logout. That is the endpoint that we created, and that is all. So logouts, very simple one, and it's going to log the user out. Let's try this. So we are in login. We have logout down button here. Click on this, inspect, and we're going to the application. Let's check the cookies over here. Logout, see what happened. It's off. So we are done. So that is it for this video. We've seen how to authenticate the system, login, logout, assigning claims. One thing I did not show you let's go to the system before we close this. Go to ASP.NET users, ASP.NET row claim. No, not that one. ASP.NET users claim this one. Click on view data. Now, admin claims has been set defaultly. So check it out. You can see claim type, create, update, delete, read, manage user, or set it through. These are all strings. So when converting them, we use convert.boolean as you saw in there. So we're going to talk about how to create a repo using the CQRS and the other stuffs. So the first thing that we're going to do here is you're going to implement the activity tracker. What is this going to do? You know, you want to track all the events happening on the system, starting from creating user up to creating product, updating product, and a whole lot. Okay, so anything that goes in there, we want to keep track of it, and it is the admin who can have access to it. Anybody who has a right to manage user can also see the tracker. So that's a log. So we're going to actually integrate this to enable the admin to see what goes on in the system. Now with this, this is just an idea that I brought. Okay, so you can modify this to suit what you want. You know, this is just a demo, so you can modify this to actually do what you like with it. Okay. All right. So here we need to create a domain for this, and going to the domain project side for the entities. I'm going to create a folder and now name this as activity tracker. Now with this, I have just a class in there which has in the ID, the date, the title, description, operation state, and also the user ID. So that specific task, who is performing, what is an ID for that user? Even though we know that is limited to administrator and manager, we want to get, because we might have multiple admins, we might have multiple managers. So you want to know the exact person who performed that operation. So that's the reason why we need this. So once we have this created, let's go to the AppDB context and I register a DB set for this. So in the infrastructure, we go to our data access, AppDB context, and we want to register DB set for this. You know, once we add this, it means that we have to perform migration to get this table created, isn't it? Yes, you do that later on. So let's go to the interface that we created in the application layer previously, and in the identity, you see we commented this too. This is the time for us to uncomment it. But before we do that, we must create a DTO for this. That's a request and response DTOs. So let's first have a look on the request DTO, and the DTO from the request folder in the identity. Can also have my activity tracker, which comprises of just a class of activity tracker request DTO, and which inherits from this base class. Okay, so we need to create this base class, and this base class, you go to the response, and in here we can have our activity tracker folder, and we have our base class in here, which comprises of the date, the title, the description, operation state, and the user ID. Now when you go to this activity tracker response, you can see also inheriting and adding the extra data that we need as a property of what username. That's great. This is going to display the info to the user or the admin, and then this is going to send to the database. So that's the reason why you have the request and the response. So we have to use the activity tracker. This is something that I did. Now what I did was, I want to save our operations that go on within the system. I want to save it to the database so that the admin can have access to it. Now within that, you know, we have to save it and we have to retrieve it. So in this format, we have to create a DTO for this. That's a request and a response. It is only the administrator who can have access to this. Anybody who has a right to manage user can also have access to this class, okay, or this method. So that's what we're doing. Now, before we uncomment this from our interface that you created, we need to create a DTO, and that is a request and our response. So let's go to our DTOs, and now from our response, we're going to have another folder known as activity tracker, which has the base activity tracker, and the base comprises of the date, the title, description, and the user ID and operation state. And now from there's a response. So this is going to get from the system to the user. And in that, you want to display the username. You don't want to display only the user ID. It doesn't make sense to the administrator to see only user ID because he might not know which user has this ID. Whereas we can use the username. And for that matter, it becomes simple and easy for the admin to identify the person. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to add this extra property in here. Good. Now, once you're done with that, we need to create a request DTO2, and that's going to be used to save or serve the database with this data. And from that request, we can have activity tracker, which has the identity activity tracker request DTO, and it inherits from this base. So let's say that this class doesn't have a name, right? It doesn't have a name property. It has the rest based on what we have in the base down here. Good. Now, once you're done with this, we can now go ahead and quickly we can uncomment what we did in the previous video. And let's do that quickly. And now we have no issue. Maybe what we can do here is we can add the namespace, and that is all. Now we're also going to do same to the repo. So we go to the infrastructure, and from there, repo repository, you can see we created an account. And now with this account, we commented this, so we can now do justice to this. So this comes in with the request, and now that goes in with the response. So here we need to include the AppDB context in here. So when you use AppDB context, you can now have access to the DB context file, and that is this matter of what activity request. That's what we did in the AppDB context. So when you go there to check, you see activity tracker. There's a table name, so we want to get a table name, and as a matter of that, we need to use the DB context. Okay, so that's what we're doing. You can see that from here, we are saving it. But before we save this a request DTO, so we have to map it, and we are using this map start. So model.adapt, we want to map it to this tracker, and there's the original, that's an entity. Okay, so this is the entity itself. So you want to map it, and after that, you want to save this. We add it and now save changes. Now here we are populating it, so you can see we get the list, and then we get a list from the activity tracker. We convert it into a list whilst you adapt it to this response, and we looping through, return this list. Okay, so that is what we are doing. Now you can see from here, we have to get a username. So we're making the find this method and passing the name so we can assign it to this. Okay, so we can have access to the name in there. Good. So now that we have this set, what can we do? We can quickly go in there to the service that we created, iAccount service. Do you remember that in the application layer, services folder, iAccount service, we need to also comment the service because the base has been implemented. Therefore, the service can be called. And now when you go to the implementation, you can uncomment this. So we call the service in there, and now that is all. Okay, so here we are grouping it by date. Very simple. So just a grouping. Okay, grouping by date. Okay, so we've done this. What we can do here is we can save everything. Let me close all this. So we are done with this. So anytime that you want to make a call or save anything, we can do that quickly from calling this endpoint, and it's going to be saved in the database. Good. So now we need to create our product, our location, and our category. So we need three models now, three entities with their separate or DTOs. So that is what, now this is what we're going to do. The product comprises of what the items in the warehouse or in the shop that you want to keep it. Okay. In that, I specify some properties. Maybe you can add more. You can remove some and add based on what you want, your preference or your requirement. You can do that. This is just a demo. So you can just modify this to suit what you want. Good. Now with this, we need product, we need location, we need category. Okay. And maybe later on, we can have the order as well. So as I explained in the first video, Now product is going to be the items that we have in the warehouse. Category, category is category, and the category can have a list of product. So that's a one-to-many relationship or many-to-one relationship. Location also going to have, because let's say it's a first floor, second floor, third floor, like that. So a floor can have a lot of product. So it's the same one-to-many relationship. And also we have an order, right? So this order is going to be a model that we're going to create, and that is what the user going to check, pick the product, and now make an order, type in the quantity, and now send it to the database. Okay, so that is what you're going to do. So let's go in then and create our models, and now let's start with it. So when you go to the domain, we can have from the entities, we can have our product, and our product comprised of the category, which inherit from the product base. You can have access to the location, which also inherit from the product base. You can have the product itself, which also inherit from product base. Okay, and now when you go to the product base, it's just an ID and our name. So we are grouping all the commands in the base class, then we are inheriting it from against each of the module that we're going to create. Now we have an ID, we're going to use ID as what GUID, and now since this is not an integer, you need to specify the key on top for the ORM to know that yes, we want to make this an ID. So please do that for us. Good. So now that we have this, what else can we do? We can also create our order. So the order, we can also put it in the entities. Now in the order, we have only the order.cs. And now before you order an item to the warehouse, you have to provide the ID of it. There's an order ID, and this has to be provided automatically. And aside from that, we need dates ordered is the date time.now. We need delivering dates, product ID, client ID, the person ordering, we need the ID, quantity, price, total price, and now we have the order state. Now this total price is going to be calculated automatically. It is not the client who's going to type in the total amount, okay, or the price. The price is there in the system. Whilst you're creating product, you set up the price in here. So we're going to populate the price and assign it to that specific item, and multiply the price by the quantity that the user types in from the order. We have a quantity in here. So whatever number that the user types in here, we're going to multiply it by the price of this to get a total amount. Good. And defaultly, when you create an order, the state here, I set it to processing. That's the first state. Okay. By in this, you can cancel the order, or an admin can update the order, and so forth. We look at all this. Okay. For now, let's have a look at this. Now that we have our models, we need to go to our AppDB context class and make or create a DB set for each of them. So quickly, we can navigate to our AppDB context class, and now we need to have product, categories, location, and now orders. Okay, so that's what we need to do. AppDB context. Now let's add these 3 data sets. So this is a DB set. We have our product, category, location, and others, and fine, that is all. So we need to update the database because these are the tables that we need for the entire the whole project. Yes. So we don't need any table again, unless maybe you want to add an extra one. So let's build solution, and I'll run migration and check it out. So it succeeded. Now let's go in there and add migration to this. So we need to make infrastructure as the startup in here as a default project. Now let's update database. Yeah, so this is also done. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to create our we're going to use a CQRS. We're going to create our queries, commands, and our handlers. The queries and the commands are going to be in the application layer, and now the handler is going to be the infrastructure, because the handler needs a DB set to work with it. Now the DB set is found in the infrastructure. So that's the implementation of the repo. So the DB set must be, or the handler must be in the application, the infrastructure layer. I don't want to confuse you today. Sorry for that. Good. So let's do that. Take note, we create the query and a command in the application layer. The implementation goes to where? The infrastructure. Good. But before we create this infrastructure, we create our handlers, queries, and commands. We need to create our DTOs first, because DTOs is what we're going to be using in that. So in our DTO, here we're going to have our response DTO. Let's create a response DTO for product. So here I have the product in here, and now from that product I have get category response in here. I have get location response, get product response, product based DTO. So when you go to the product based DTO, it has the name, the serial number, location ID, category ID, it has price, quantity, description, and now the image of the product. Okay, so it has the various attributes specified on top, and I believe you know this already. Good. Now when you go to the product response, this get product, we have from this product based DTO, and these are the extra properties that we need. We specified it. We do same to location response. This is what we need. And now when you go to this get category response, we also use the same. You will see both are inheriting from update category request DTO, and it's coming from a request, so we need to also add the request. So when you go to this the request, we can have our product, and now this also has the add category request, which takes in only the name, add location, it takes in only the name. Now this add location is inheriting from this add category, because it's the same thing. Now add category has the name, add location also needs name, so we don't need to repeat it. We can inherit it, and so that way it's going to work. We also need add product request, and this add product request inherit from the base DTO. Everything that it needs, get it from the base DTO. We have update category, which takes in the ID, and which inherit from this add category, which has the name. Okay, so name and ID. You go to the update location, and it's the same. So here it's inheriting from this update category response. That's a request. Now this request, if I click on this and now click on pick definition, you know, this is also inheriting from this add category. Now add category has in the name, so it is the name and the ID, so we have it in here. So anytime that you call this update, you have name and ID. And now for location 2, we need the same name and ID, so you need not to repeat it, rather we can inherit from this, and that is all. You see that? And we have this the add update product response. We've done that already. Now when you go to the product, you know, I've explained this already, isn't it? Yeah, so there's no need for me to get it again. Now when you check this get category response, you know, we are having a relationship in here, and that's a many to one or one to many. Okay, so here we have an I collection of get product response, and it's in the form of product. And now when you go to the product itself, so when you go to this get category, so when you go to get product response, you know, we're having this category, and now so there's a one to many. So one category can have many products, and many products can also have one category. So that's a one to many or many to one. And you're doing the same thing to the locations. You also have it set in the one to many or many to one. Good. So these are DTOs that we need. We need two DTOs, response and request. For product, we've set them as you can see from here. Now let's see the order. So we need to also have our response order DTO, which takes in, we have get product with quantity response DTO. Now this DTO is going to be used for our graph. Okay, so we want to get only the product name and the quantity ordered. We have get ordered response DTO, so we're inheriting from the ordered base DTO, and in that we need all the following properties in here, because we're going to be displaying this order on the screen for the user to see. So we need all the needful packages, not the packages, the needful properties for this display. Then we have get others count response. So we're going to get a count. So we have the state, we have processing, delivering, delivered, and now the cancelled. So you can see that these are the states. Now you want to find out number of orders which have each state. So that's the reason why we're doing that. This is going to return an integer. Okay, this will return because you are returning this processing. So these are the parameters that you passing in. Get others count. So when you get the handler, you're going to see what you're going to return as an integer. Now when you go to this, get others by month. So you want to get others by month, and that's what we're doing. So you can see we have this month name and now the total amount. Now this month name, we have it in maybe in October or etc. or from January up to December. We want to grab this within a year. So we want to group the data within a year by a month. So within the month of maybe January, how much orders did you make? Okay, so you see that we can have this month and now the orders. This month and now the orders. That's what we are doing. Now in order to convert this into a currency, that's why we are formatting this to toString, and we have it into this currency symbol to have this double and a comma separated. Okay, now let's see, from our orders we need our request, and now from our request we need create order request. So under creating order, we inherit from this base DTO and then we add client ID. When you go to the base, we have the product name and the quantity, and then here we are also adding ID to this. Okay, so we have it in there. Then update client orders, we have the order ID, the state, and then the delivering state. This delivering state, this one is the delivering date. Okay, so here update it, you can update this to set the current date you return the item to the requested shop. And also the order state here changes from processing to maybe delivering, delivered, cancelled. So you can also do that. And it's a work of an admin to update the system on these aspects. Good. So these are our DTOs that we need for this particular project too. So make sure you create all these projects nicely and beautifully. So now that we are done with our DTOs, we're going to create our handlers. So this is going to be, we first need to create our commands and queries. Now commands are what you're going to be using, like delete, create. Okay, now queries are what you're going to be doing, like read or get. So we need to create commands and we need to create our queries. Good. Now you're going to do that for product and also for orders. So let's first start with the product. This is going to be in the service. So we have an account service down here already, and I'm going to add another one in there, and make sure we are in the application layer and a service folder. That is where we need to actually add this. So in here we're going to have a product, and in our product we're going to have our commands and queries. Okay, so I've explained already what commands are and what queries are. Now when I click on commands, we have category, we have location, we have product, because we're going to be creating CRUD on each of these entity. Now categories entity, we're going to create this CRUD for. The same thing applies to the location and the product. So when you go to the categories, you can see we have create, delete, and update. All these are commands. So for create, we have this as a record class of what create category command. We pass in the payload, and that's an add category request DTO. Then we inherit from this I request. Then we pass in as a response, as a return, because when we get in contact a database, we want to return a response to the user. So in that, we created this service response to handle that. And now also when you go to delete, we need to only get the product ID to delete it. That is a category ID, sorry. So we need to get a category ID and now delete it. And this has to return a service response. We do same thing to the update, and it also needs an update category request DTO, and also inherit from the same thing as you can see from here. Good. Now when you go to location, we are doing same to location. You see, it is the same thing that we are doing. And when you go to product, the same. You see that? It is the same thing. Good. So that's for our commands that we need to create. Now when you go to the queries, let's see, from our queries, this is a command. We have category, we have location, we have what? Product. From the categories, we have get all category query. Now here, it is coming in with I enumerable, passing this DTO get category request DTO. The same thing applies to this is get categories with product query. So in that, it's taking in a I enumerable of what get category request DTO. Okay, So that is what we are having in here. When you go to the location tool, it has the same thing as you can see from here. So it is the same. Now get location with product query. We can also have this in there. Good. Then when you go to the product, get product by ID, and now get product query. So get product by ID, you specify the ID, and now get product by get product, so get all products, and which has in this I returns the I enumerable of what get product response. Okay, so that is it. That's what we need to create. These are commands and these are queries for our product, our location, and our category. We need to now create implementation for this, but before that, let's add our orders. This is for product. We need to add our order as well. So from the service, let's also add our orders, commands, and here we need cancel order. If the user want to cancel the order, all that we need to do here is to get the ID, and that is all. If the user want to create an order, we need to create order request DTO, and that is all. Waiting here from the same I request with the service response. Then update client order. That's going to be performed by the admin and also the user. User can update his response, his orders by canceling it. Okay, so cancel response or cancel order, which is going to be used by this order. So we pass in the order ID, they're going to cancel that. But for this update, it's going to be used by the admin or the manager, only for administration. So that's an update. We pass in this update client order request DTO, which inherits from this I request service response. Good. And when you go to the queries tool, we have get all others, and we're going to get all others, and which has the same I enumerable. Okay, so the same thing as you saw in the product. Now get here, we are creating generic order count. Now with this, we want to pass in a specific state. So when you check here, admin can use this, user can also use this. So that's why we are saying that get generic orders count. You know, from the overview section, when the page loads, we have this side section which gets all the info, the count, that is the state, the product ordered, the total amount, and a lot. Okay, so in that, you want the admin to get the whole thing from the system, and you want the same method to be used by the client to get data related to that specific client. So that's the reason why we specify this is admin and also the user ID. So if you're an admin, you're going to have your user ID as well. And now this admin is going to be what? True. So we're going to base on this admin to check it. And if you're a user, then you're going to use the user ID. And now since this admin is false, you're going to use this ID to make a query and then get your data for you. Yes. So that's the reason why I name it as get generic order count. Okay. The name sounds so weird, but don't worry. You can modify this very small one to suit what you want. Okay. Now you have get ordered product with quantities. So this is for the graph. Get orders, ordered product with quantity. So we have user ID. Here, if you're an admin, we don't need user ID. We're going to get everything, but for user, we want to get only data related to your user ID, and that is all. Okay, we pass in the I enumerable, and I get ordered product with quantity responded to that we created in there. And I get others by ID. You pass in the ID, the user ID, and now we're going to return enumerable of what get order response. And our last one is for the graph, get product ordered by the month. So we're going to get by the month. And the same thing, admin, get everything. User, use the user ID, which returns I request or I enumerable of what get product ordered by month response DTO that we created. Good. So we have our orders, we have our commands, we have our queries created for both product and also others. One left here, it is our handlers. So let's go to infrastructure and I'm creating our handler in there. So before we create our handlers, we need to use DB context factory. Why do we need to use DB context factory but not DB context? Now, in the context of CQRS, that is a command query responsibility segregation and entity framework call, a DB context factory is a mechanism for creating instances of an EF called DB context class. It's particularly useful in scenarios where you need to ensure that each command or query handler get its own isolated instance of DB context to prevent issues like concurrency problems or unintended data modification. So we need to create for each command or each handler, it needs its own DB context. We don't need to create one instance of DB context and be using it by other handlers. No. So one handler, one context, one handler, one context. And that's what we need to do. And in order to do that, you need a DB context factory. Okay. So we're going to create this factory. And in that factory, we're going then now use the factory in all the handlers that we create, starting from the product, category, location, and others. So in our infrastructure, we're going to add our factory in there. And from our data access, I have an interface of IDB context factory. And in that, you have the context definition in here. So we're going to return a T of what get required service from this T. So we're going to provide in a DB context, and you can create an instance of this, which inherit from this a DB context factory, where the T here is a class, and which inherit from this DB context. Good. So once you have this, we can go ahead and create in we can start with our implementation. Now, let's go in there and start with our handlers. So I'm going to create folder in here for the repo, and maybe I can call this as products. And within the product, I'm going to create my handler inside this product. So in this handler, you have categories, location, and product. Now, if I click on create category handler, we can see from here, we are injecting a DB context factory from here. And now in a DB context factory, we create an instance of this as a context factory. And now within that, implementing our CQRS, it has inherit from this iRequest handler, which takes in this command and the server response. That's a return type. Okay. In that, you need to implement the abstract, implement the interface in there. And here you can see we are using this using statement. Now this using here, as soon as we are done using this DB context, it's going to dispose it. Okay. So we create an instance of this factory in there, and now we can go ahead. We can get from the categories in here, first or default, whereby the name is equal to this. We can start with our implementation. So here, making a search out of the category to see if the name already exists. Let me just unpin this. So we're checking if the name already exists. In case it does, you want to return this response. I created a separate response for this. I name it as general DB responses. And now let me show you what I did. So maybe from our handler, or maybe where can I input this? Maybe in our product, I can just paste this down here. Okay, so from this, we have this general DB responses. And now with these responses, I have item already exist. So I can just return the name, and I can just set this. You can see that it is returning a service response. And now this service response has in two properties. It has the bool, and that is the flag, and also the message, a string. So here it has an item already exists, item not found, item created, item updated, and item deleted. So what I'll be doing, I'll be calling this method often in the product handler. So when you go back again to the create category, if I say that this is not now, this category already exists, I want to return this. If I see it doesn't, I want to convert it and now add it, save the database, update changes, and now return item created. That's what we are doing for this handler. So we are adding it to the database, and that is all. Now, when you go to the next one, and that is from the delete category, we are also doing same. We're going to create an instance of this DB context. So all the handlers create an instance and now search it from this. When you get it, remove it and now save. Return this item deleted. That's very simple because the tag said return a service response. Now, when you go to the next one here, that is a get all categories handler. From the categories, we also implement the same thing. We create an instance of this, and now we make a search from here, convert to a list. We return it by adapting it into a get category response, DTO, and I return it. So this adapt is coming from this Mapster, and that's the package that we installed as an as an auto mapper. Okay, it's the same. So we are using a map star instead of auto mapper. Good. Now from the update category handler, we're also doing same. We are going to return what? Service response, which takes in this command. And now from down here, we create an instance of this DB context. Then we're going to be using it to make a search. When we have it, then we want to detach it. After detaching it, we want to convert this into a model state of this entity. We want to now update it, save changes, and return. You can see this is very simple. Good. So that's for our category. We do the same to location. So it is the same thing. Okay. So I need not to explain this again. It is the same thing, just that here I just change the name, the table name, location. That is all. Delete, the same thing. Get all locations, the same thing, and now add the location too. It is the same thing. Okay. Now when you go to product, create product, it is the same because each of them is return a service response. So it's the same thing. Just that what I need to do here is update the command instead of here's a create product command. So change the command and now change the DB context name. You create a context, you create an instance in here, and I'll change the table name. So this is product. Then you have to make sure this is product. Add it, save it, and I'll return. When you go to the next one, delete product, it is the same thing that we're doing. Search for the product name. When we have it, remove it, save it, and I return item deleted. When you go to get product by ID, here we need this get product query, which takes in the ID. So when you check this, you see we create an instance of this DB context factory. After creating this instance, we're going to get all the products, and I'm going to include categories. We're going to include what? Location, and then we're going to search for where ID is equal to this request.id. So that's get product by ID. So getting product detail, we can get by ID, and I'll return this. So we're going to return this, populate this, and I'll return. Because this is going to return what? Get product response. So you need to provide values to each of the model or the property provided in that DTO. Get product handler, getting everything converted to a list. Then we're going to return select. So this is going to be selecting many. Then return it in the form of what? List. And also, when you check this update product, we are doing the same thing as we did to the category and also the location. We want to make sure we search for it. When you say we detach it, after detaching it, then we want to convert it into a state of this entity, update it, save it, and I return item product updated. Okay, so that is what we are doing in here. So you see, this category, location, product, they have something in common because they have the same trend that we can actually use to create each of them. Good. Now that we have a product, we need to create handler, and it is the same. So implementation is the same, just that here we need to define the table name separately. Good. So now let's have a look with the others. So with the others, let's see, others, that's infrastructure. And now with the others in here, we also have the same thing. So we have a handler, we have cancel order. So user can cancel order, administrator can also cancel order. So before you cancel order, you need here, we need this cancel order command that we created. Okay. Now, this cancel order, you're going to return a service response. We created a class or instance of this context factory. Then we're going to search from the product, the others, and now search for the specific ID, order ID. In case we find that, then we're going to remove it. Now, we're going to set, we're not going to actually remove it from the system. We're going to set the state to cancel. So before you set the state, you must have this order state. So I created a static class for this others, and that is what I am using. Okay, in here, let me show you this this class, what it has. So from the application layer, we have extensions. So let me add it in here. Now this other state, you see I have just cancel, processing, delivered, and I'm delivering. So instead of I writing this in there, no, I'd rather create a class and now use it here. So I can use a class in there. And that is exactly what I did. So since we want to cancel it, we could see we set this other state to cancel. And now after setting this state to the cancel, you have to just save changes, and that is all. Everything's up. So that's for the cancel. Now when you go to the create other, it is the same thing as we did. You can see we have to add some stuff in there. You can do that in the DTO. Well, you can also do that in here. We search for the product. We are going to create it. So when you look at it, we're going to search from the product and get the data of that specific product. When we have it, we want to convert this into the order that we have into this other entity, because first it's coming in with an order DTO. So we want to convert it to this entity. After doing that, we want to populate this total amount, order state, and our price. So defaultly, set order state to processing, and our total amount equal to product price times what the quantity that the user type in. Then set the price and now save it. Good. So that's what we're doing for this. Get all orders, getting it to a list. You see, we create an instance, we get all orders, we get all products, then we get all users, because we're going to be using this to populate it. Now you're going to return this. Now ID, product name, we get from the product, get a name. We have the product image, we get from the product and now select image. Serial number from the same product and get serial number. Client name, get from the user manager, so from these users, and now get the name. Okay, so we have to get these three states or these three lists in here, so we can loop through them and now search for data related to this specific ID that we have in here. Good. So at the end of the day, you make sure you convert this to a list and I return it. And that is that for this get all orders. Now with the get generic order handler, here we want admin and user to use this method. So you first check, is the admin false? If it's false, then it means here this is referring to a user, then get it by ID. In case it is true, meaning it's an admin, then don't, because for admin you want to grab the whole context. So get to a list and I return. And now in that we're going to process it. You want to extract the processing, get all others or the list which has the process state of what processing, and delivered to delivered, this one delivering to delivering, delivered to delivered, cancel to cancelled. So get all the count. We are getting the count. Take note. So this is not going to return list, rather count. And I return this get order count, which takes in count, processing, delivering, delivered, and now cancelled. Okay, so that's what we are doing in here. Okay, now let's see the next one. Get others, ordered product with quantity handler. Now here we're going to group this. So when you have a look here, we need to check is a request. When you check it here, you can see we are checking if the user ID is null. It means we are going to use this as an admin. In case it is not null, then it means it is for user. So you want to search it by the user ID and now return it into a list. So you can see we get it from the user ID, we convert it into a list. And if it's an admin too, then straight ahead convert to a list. After that, you want to group them. So group them by date. So when you have a look here, we want to search for the date ordered. We are grouping them. We want to get data within 12 months. So that's what we are doing. Greater than or equal to today's date dot add month minus 12. So we are subtracting 12 months from today's date, which is going to give us last year. We want to group them by name or by product ID. Then we're going to convert it to a list. You see? Then that is all. So here, once we have this, we're going to loop through this. Then we're going to have our product name, because there's going to be a key and the value. So from the key, we can search the key from here. You want to get the key name, because this is going to give us, here we having product name and a quantity. Okay, so for the product name, we have the product ID. So you want to grab the product name. So that's why we are having this ID is equal to order key dot name. This is going to give us the ID. And I want to have this ID. We're going to search it from the product. Then we can have the name in there. So when you check at the end, we are getting the name here. So use the ID, search the product, and I get a name. And that's what we are doing in there. And from the quantity, we're going to also sum the quantity and I return it as what quantity ordered. return the data at the end, because it's going to be a list, return it at the end. And the last, not the last, get others by ID. It is the same thing. So get others by ID, you specify the ID. We search for the ID in here. You can see, search for the ID, convert to a list, and then we're going to return. So we get the others, we get a product, and now we're going to return a select of this. Okay, so product name, and it's the same thing that we're doing in here. Here we are getting others by ID query. And the next one here, get product ordered by month. So this for also the graph. And here we create a DB context. We get the list in here. If ID is not equal to null, meaning get everything. But in case if ID is not equal to null, it means user exists. So get is the client who is calling this. So get it from the client. And if there is null, it means it's an admin. So get a whole list from here. Then group them into months. Now only have this is going to give us the month name. Okay. So from that month name, we want to get the month name, not the month number. This is going to give us the month number. It's an integer. So you want to convert it and get the month name. So we use this current quarter.date time format dot get month name, passing the key or the month ID. And this is going to give us the key to that. You see? So we have the key in here. It's going to give us the month name itself. So here, let's say A is going to give us August, 1 is going to be January, 2nd is going to be what? February, and so forth. So you can get the product or the month name here, and we're also going to sum the total amount to get the total amount property set in there. And last one left, that is an update client ordered handler. So we are going to update the client orders. So here it is an admin who can do that. Okay, so search for this order ID, and now when you have it, you can update it. So the state equal to this state coming in here, and that is the date. Then you can now save changes. So admin can update the state, okay, and at the date. Aside from that, admin cannot update the user's data again. It is the user's order is for the date and now the state. So these are the two features that the admin, or the two properties admin can make amendment to them. Okay. So now that we are done with our queries and handlers, what we're going to do here is we need to register this query or this handlers in the dependency injection container. So go to your service container and let's register them here. So let's go to the service container, and now we need to register our service created as our queries. So down here we can add, we're going to add a mediator, and we're going to specify the register service from assemblies. We specify any of the handler that we created .assembly. Then here we want to also register the scope, or that is the DB context factory that we created. So we need to add it as scope. Then you can see that's the interface in here, and that's the implementation as well. So once you're done with this, the next one is you're going to work on the UI. Okay. Now before we do that, I want us to add from the extension. I want us to add this class. Now this class, the default claims, that's the name that I gave. It comprises of the claims. Okay, so that's the manage user, add, delete, update, and read. You're going to be using this to update the user. If you want to change the users, maybe claims, you want to use them. So that's the reason why you're creating a static class, and now setting them in here. We want to actually skip typing it in there. Okay, so then later on, maybe if you want to update it, you know where to go, and it makes it easy for you to locate the file and now do the modification that you want. That's the reason why I'm doing it here. But if you don't mind, you can also do it in there. When we get there, you can also do it in there. Trust me. Do like this so you can skip any future errors. Okay. So in the web UI, let's go to the import and add all our using statements in here. So everything that we're going to be using, I want to add them in here. Okay, so these are just the links, the namespaces that we are using to skip future errors. Okay, Now, when you take a close look, we having some that we haven't created the state yet, but don't worry, we're going to create them soon. You see, we're injecting some stuff like a nav manager, authentication state provider. We have the iAccount service, that's a service that we created, iService provider that we created. iService provider, we did not create iService provider. That is default, so we can use this to authenticate a policy. And we have the JS, as you know, we used to call JavaScript fast in there. We have generic home header state, we have user active, admin active, and custom authorization service. You're going to create this service in there, and when you get there, I'll show you what this service is going to do. Okay, so let's have this namespace added in here. Then we're going to create our hubs, our states, our general folder, our sidebar, and our navigation bar. That's what we're going to be using to have our navigations, our sidebar. I want to group this. So that's the reason why I'm creating a lot of folders here, so I can have these objects grouped. Good. So let's say we have this. Now let's go in there and create the first navigation bar. We're going to create the first folder in here. So from the component, so let's start designing our UI. Let's go to navigation. I'm going to copy this navigation bar because we have not created this. That's the reason why we have this underlined. Now let's create a folder in that. So from the component layout, I'm going to open this and I'll create a folder in here and I name it as navigation bar. Okay, so we have this folder created. So we need to create a component for this, and I'm going to name this as nav items. So I'm going to create a component in the navigation bar folder that we just created, and it's going to be nav items. So in that nav items, I have just a list of this, and in here I'm going to have this logout form, and we can have access to this to get the if user is authenticated or not. We want to get a name, and now from that name we can display the name here. So you want to have something like drop down. As soon as the user clicks on that drop down, you're going to click on logout. Aside from that, when you resize the view into your mobile screen, we are changing the logo. So the logo must be actually small size in here. Okay, so you have to do that. We have to also create one component for that, and I'm going to name it as on mobile screen logo. It's just about only an image. Now we're going to add the image there, but for now this is an image name. So you make sure that when adding the image, there's going to be the name and the extension for this image. We're going to make this as interactive. If I click on this, I want to navigate to the home page. Okay, that's what we are doing. Very simple one. Good. So we're done with the navigation bar. Now we're going to create our sidebar, because we're going to have a sidebar for the mobile view and also for the desktop or the large screen view. So create a folder in the layout and I name it as sidebar. And now within that sidebar, I'm going to create a brand and the content. Okay, so from here, I'm going to have maybe the brand on top. Let me create a folder for this, the component, and it's going to be brand. So this brand is just an, as you can see, it's an image. Okay, so sidebar brand image, and I'm going to create a content. So brand, and I'm going to create content, and this will be the sidebar content itself. So with this, I'm going to have the content in here. It is just a list, and I can see just a list. And now here we are using JavaScript to navigate, and the same thing is going to be a drop down. And here we're going to use if it is what can manage user. This is a policy, and this is a claim that we're going to check. So this is claim that we're going to check in here. Now the whole thing here, you can see it is an authorized. Before you can have access to the list in here, you must have in the policy of what administration policy. And with the administration policy, the managers, if you have the manage user set it through, when creating the claims, we set manage user to false. So if you can have set it true, that's the only when you can see this. So you can see here we are using this claim to manage the view. Good. Then we have the product, categories, and allocations, and these are the JavaScript link that we're going to use. So here we're using the JavaScript to navigate to that page in there. Good. And the next one that we have in here, it is just an admin others and also the client others. So authorized by user policy, so user can see this. This one is what? Admin. So admin can also see this. Remember that from this here, this what? The admin policy. So admin can see this. If you're administrator or you're manager, you can see that. And even within that, we are using can manage property to check if you have access to user management or any other feature that has been restricted by the claim. And here is for a client. So if you are a client, the user, you can see this. And we have a math Blazor, this is going to be the math divider, just a horizontal line. Then we have the system info version 1.0.0. I just added this. And before you can see this, you must be authorized. It doesn't matter whether you're an administrator or you're a user. I just added authorized without policy. Okay. Then here we getting the state. So custom authorization service. Then you want to authenticate, get the custom claim checker. We pass in the state in here. That is the state. Then you get the user. And I also want to pass in the claim. So you remember that we created a static class and a default claims. You want to check if you have this manage user set to true. That is when you can have access to that. So default is set to false. And as soon as the page initializes, it's going to make a search for this. It's going to call that method. As soon as authenticated, you're going to check, do you have this manage claim set to true? If yes, then this is going to be yes. And if so, then you're going to see what you're supposed to see. If not, then the other one, yes. Okay, so we created this. It means we have to create our custom authorization service. Now this service enables us to check. This is a generic service, and now you pass in the claim and it checks if that claim has a property of true. If yes, they're going to return true. It's going to return false. Okay, so it is a class, a generic class, which returns true or false based on the claim that you specify. It gets the claim from the AuthStateProvider or the user from here, and find out the state of that user, the claim from that state, and the value for that state or the value for that claim. So it get the user, the state of the user if authenticated, and now the claims, the manager user or the managed user claim, and the value of that claim, is it true or false? Then it returns it. So if it is true, then access granted. If it is false, access denied. Good. So let's create this state first. So before we do that, I want to ask you, let's finish this. So we have our sidebar, then we have, that is the content. Okay. Now let's go in and create a custom authorization service. So you can go in there, and now where we created our identity folder, we can create this as an interface and an implementation. So I custom authorization service, and it returns a bool, and it was custom claim checker. It takes in the user and the specific claim that you want to pass in. When you go to the implementation, we check. It checks the state. Are you authenticated? If no, return false. If yes, check, do you have this claim? If no, return false. If yes, get a claim. Convert it to Boolean, and is it true? Return true. Is it false? Return false. So this is a generic one, and it is to check the claim that we set up in there. Okay, so in here we have this set, and I want to go to the import. This must be solved. We see navigation bar. This should be solved. And also this iCustom service is also, yeah, it has been found, so it's going to be solved soon. All right, so let's save this. So aside from this, we need to also create our footer, and this footer will be in the same layout. So this footer that we have in here, it is just a class event management system, nothing much, and that is it for the footer. I have an image down here to display. So now let's go there to the main layouts, and the package that we installed, Netcode-Hub.packages.template.breeze. We need to set up the layout in here. So I'm going to clear everything from here, and I'll paste in this. Now this is coming from the Breeze main layout template. It's from the package that I uploaded, and in here we have this inner template, and here we are using this authorize. So it tells you that this side you must be authorized to see this. Okay, this is coming from the brand, and now this brand here, it is a sidebar brand. So we have the sidebar, and that is a brand. So this one, that's what we are referring to. Let's see. All right, so when you build this, this is going to work out. Then we have, let's see, okay, so then we have our navbar template. In there we can specify the theme dark, or you can specify it to light. Then in there we have our body template. That's where you pass in the body. We have the nav item end template, and that's going to be the navbar end side. We have the start and we have the end. Now with the end, we want to display this nav item that you created. Then we have on mobile screen logo template. We specify the package or the component that we created on mobile screen logo to display that small image. And now if I click on it, it does locate me to the home page. So if you want to use my template, there's the main layout. This is the structure that you have to follow. Okay, good. Now once you're done with this, we can go ahead. Maybe we have to build this, but first let's finish the folder creating in order to skip the error specified in here. So this template has some CSS and JS file that we need to make reference to. And also, since you're going to be using Syncfusion and Blazor, you have to also reference the JavaScript files for Syncfusion, the CSS file for Syncfusion, and JavaScript file for Blazor, and also CSS for Blazor. So in the app.razor, we need to replace with this. And here, what we're doing here is we are making a reference to this content.netcode-hub.packages.ui.template.breeze. Then CSS, you have the bootstrap. It has its own bootstrap using, so you can make reference to this, or you can use a customized or installed bootstrap. It's still going to work. Then you have the CSS. You have to include the style. Then here it is using material design. So it has in predefined material design icons. If you want to also install new one, you can also do that, and I'll skip this. It's still going to work. Then from the Syncfusion, we are using this content syncfusion.blazor.themes.bootstrap5.css, and using this Syncfusion blazor.min.js. So these are the Syncfusion files I need to add. These are Netcode-Hub packages files I need to use for the template, and that is the Blazor file that you need to also use. So you have the Netcode, Syncfusion, and our Blazor. Okay. And now here we're going to create our own custom JS file. So for this matter, we have to make reference to this, and we need to create this file in there. Now the reference here, it is a JS folder and the file known as custom.js. So www root folder, we're going to create a JS folder and a file known as custom.js. So this is just a JavaScript file, which is going to get the element by ID. It's going to just toggle them, hide some of them, add some styles, and so forth. So when you hover it, it's going to do some magic and yeah, some designs in there. Okay, then that is it. So just add, you're going to add this style in there. Okay, not the style, this JavaScript. Okay, so you're going to add this in there. Okay, so now that we are done with this, we need to also update our route.razor. You know, we cannot, okay, we have this authorized route view already, and that's great. We did that in the previous video, and that's great. Now we're going to create a hub, and this hub is going to be used for real-time notification. So let's say this is going to be used in the product orders. So if a client order product, then the admin must get notified. The same thing applies to if the admin cancels an order, the owner or the client must also get notified. So in that, you know, we have to use Signal R. We've installed the package already, so we need to create the hub. So let's create the hub in there, and I'm going to create a class which can be used in any of the components. Okay, so let's create a service which will be used in other components to start or to join connection. As soon as it's open, the hub is open, we want to join it. So in that, we can put that in the www root folder. Not the www root folder. That is the default or the root file. So you can see I created a folder known as hubs. Now within this hubs, we have this communication hub. Now this communication hub inherit from this hub. And now you can see client.sender, we're going to notify to this is a method that we're going to send, and now there's an ID. Okay, so that's the client ID. The current person who is performing the task, we want to get the ID and now pass it on. So you're passing the ID in here. When you go to the Netcode connection service, you can see when the app starts, you create a constructor for this. We create the communication in here. We create the URL, then we start the hub. Okay, we can also get if the hub is connected or not. So here, get hub connection is equal to this. We call this hub connection. And now this hub connection is going to start as soon as this method is called, because this method is found in the constructor. And now when this method is called, constructor will be the first line to run. So as soon as it runs before this get called, by then this hub would have gotten the necessary connection that it needs, and we can now assign it to this. And now when you call this, we can get the hub connection. That's great. Good. After creating this, we need to also create our states. Now, what are you going to do with the states? We're going to populate the processing. We're going to group them. Processing, you're going to get processing, delivering, delivered, and uncancelled. So this is limited to others. Okay. So in that, we need to call our handler that we created, so we can get this in there. And now when the value of this changes, you want to get the whole page notified. So that's the reason why we need to create our state. And now this state contains an action. This action here, we're going to subscribe in the page. And as soon as the value of the property changes, this action is going to be invoked. And as soon as this action is invoked, all the page which have subscribed to this action will get notified or re-rendered. And now the current values are going to be updated. Good. That's what we need to do. So that's all about this state. So in the state, I have admin, I have user state. I also have change password state. So this is a change password state. I think I've used this a couple of times in my videos. So this is going to switch between the type of the password, that's from text to password, so that the user can see the password off and on. And also, when you check the admin state, we create an admin active order count. So this is going to get counts. As you can see from here, we need this auth-StateProvider from the default one, and it is coming from auth-StateProvider is coming from which one is an interface that we can inject in here. So if I click on this, let's see, it is coming from this namespace. That's the namespace system. So this is a default one that we're going to be using. And in here, when you go to, let's see, that is the states. So that's the admin state. Now here, this service provider that we are using, what is it going to do? It's going to be used to create a scope. And I know we are creating a separate DB context factory for each of the handler. So when you create that, you must also create scope for that. And now the scope will make sure that it gets its own DB context as we've done in the handler, and now it utilizes in there. So in that, that's the reason why we need to use this auth-StateProvider. Now here we create a scope, and now we're going to call this handler. So this is just a query, as you can see from here. So get generic orders query. And when you see here, this is an admin. So for admin, this must be null. User ID must be null because for admin, we don't need any user ID. And we set this to true. So this is admin, we set this to true. So if it is true, then it's going to get us the result. Now from that response, we can extract processing, delivering, delivered, cancelled, and allowed. So anytime that we get a value out of this, we want to invoke this. So that's the reason why we created an action here. Okay. So anytime this gets called and the value get changes, this is going to be invoked. And now when this is invoked, any page subscribed to this will get notified and re-rendered. Now we do the same thing to the client. So we go to the client, and here we're going to do the same. So when you check the user, you will see from here we also doing same, just that here we pass in the user ID. Okay, So where are you getting this user ID? Anytime that you call this method, you have to extract the user ID from the current auth state. Then we can pass in the ID in here, and now we can use the ID to make this query. When we get to do the same, and I invoke this method. Okay, so you can see we have user state and we have admin state. Now when you go to the admin again, we can see we have generic home header. Now what is it going to do? Now this generic home header, it is for both. Actually, this shouldn't be the admin because it's going to be used by both. I think it should be maybe outside the administration, but well, it's okay. So here we have the state name, we have its admin, then we have an event in here, and now get processing other button clicked. So when button is clicked, you know, when the app loads up, we're going to have these processing tabs, all these tabs on top. Any page that you visit, you're going to have these tabs on top. Okay, that's the processing, the delivering, delivered, and the cancelled. Maybe if you are messing up, you can just check the preview. These buttons are on top of each page that you visit. Now we want to click on it, navigate to the home page, and now extract all others which have that state. So in that, we need to use a state so we can subscribe and get the page re-rendered. And that is why we're creating this generic header state. Okay, so in that, we call this method, we pass in the state name, we check if the person is an admin. If an admin, we pass it on here. Then we can assign the value from this state to this, and we invoke this method. So when we invoke, any page subscribed to this is going to be get changed or get re-rendered, and the values are going to be changed in that component as well. Okay, so don't worry, let's get to the implementation, and you're going to understand this better. So when we go to our components, and from the pages, we can have our general page, and this general page actually contains only a component, and this component is known as a generic spinner button. So it's just a spinner button, whereby here you can specify in the button class and also the type. So this is used when you click on the button to tell the users that there's a process going on. Okay, so this has a spinner in the button, and that's what that is doing. So it has no interactive, just you pass in the text, and now you pass in the button class. So these are the default values set. So if you don't provide any value to it, the text is going to be loading, and the button is going to be what? Primary, which is going to be blue, type, and etc. Okay, so we have this. So now that we are done with this, we're going to work on the admin page. You know, admin can add user, admin can manage user by changing the user roles and a lot, and admin can also see user activities. We've created DTOs, commands, and handlers for all of this. So it's about time to create the UI. You know, so let's do that. I cannot be going through the UI one after the another. UI takes a lot of time to do it, and think we have limited time to take you through everything. So with the output that you see, you can design something like that, or you can also grab the source code and you can also go through. So from here, I'm going to the content page. Maybe from these pages, I'm going to have identity page here. Now from the identity page, I can add maybe administration here. So I have administration folder added, and now in that I have these 4 components. Import contains all the using statements limited to add user page, manage user page, and our user management activity log. Okay, so if I click on this, it has these namespaces in there, and we have this iAccount service also injected in here. We have this generic home header state available, admin active order state count available in here. Then this is authorized. So before you can access any of the pages in there, you must have a policy of what? You must be in the policy of administration policy. This tells you that it is only manager and admin who can have access to this. Now from the add page, this is what we have. In order to use the package, we need this admin header. We need this 3-section template. Now this 3-section template is going to divide the whole page into 3. We're going to have the first one, that is a column 9. We're going to have column 3. They're going to have column 12 at the bottom. Now column 9 is going to be the content. Column 3 is going to be the site, and now footer is going to be the last one. So we're going to have 3-section template. Okay. Now in that here, this is going to be we're we're going to have banner in here. So let's say this is going to be the banner. We haven't created the banner yet, but we're going to create it soon. So let's copy this and let's go to the pages. Now in that we have the content in here. Now in that content, we're going to create maybe a component, and I'll name this component as banner. Now this banner is going to handle the display of the product. Let me just find if I can run the preview app to show you. Yeah, so it's ready. So this is what I'm talking about, this one. So these are the banner, and you can see we have it displayed down here. When you go to any other page, you're also going to have it in the same. Okay, so this is what we're going to create. So, okay, let me move it down there. And now in here, we're going to have all these methods in here. Yes. When you check up down here, you can see a lot of UI has been created down. And now here, this is for administration policy. So it means that this is for the admin and this is for the user. This is going to be used by both admin and user. Okay. And when you go through this group from this code, you can see we are having this auth state from the user. We have a list of get order response, and that's the user orders and admin orders. So we have a user in here, and this is related to a client, so we can have access to the user ID. We have these private properties created. These are decimals, so because they are numbers that we want to display as an amount, and we have some as integer that we want to display in there. So the same thing applies to this for the client and this for the admin in here. When the page initializes, we're going to load default. So there's a load default. Now we want to check, we want to get the user, and now check if the claims that first or default, we have the type. The type is equal to user. So if the person's claim has a user role, it means you want to get the user, then run this. Else you want to run the admin. Okay. So it is an admin and run the admin. If it is a user, get the user. And now these claims are going to be attached anytime the person logs in. Either you're an admin or you're a user. And now we call this method in here. So this is going to populate it. So we see others, this is going to get as a list. We're going to sum up. We're going to get this. This is just a simple mathematics that I am doing to get the orders, the sales, and a lot. So just go through the UI in here and you understand that. You see. So this is only today, 0%. So you find the percentage of it out of the orders for only today. So product orders for today, we want to get them here. This one is an ordered product. You want to get the whole sum in here. Okay. And this for the last month, you want to get them in here. And then the percentage since last month, you want to also get them in here. And then that is a product quantity ordered. So for now, that's a gross product quantity ordered. And this is for only today. So we are doing the same thing for the admin and now for the user. So that's the reason why I have a lot of these properties in here, and we having this percentage in there, as you can see from this. Okay, so we do the same thing to the admin, and that is all. Okay, so we have this set, and now when you come to the view, it's just a matter of having the row. We have this column X12 and a lot. So you can see we creating this column rows and we specify the values in there. So we are displaying what we have, and that is it. So it is for admin. If it's a user, you are doing the same thing. So when you check this, you can see it is the same thing that we are repeating, just that here we are changing the values out of this. So you can see we are admin switching policy. That's a user policy. Okay. Now let's go back to the solution. Then we are in the add user page. So here we having this then you can see we have a banner set. It is no more we're not having here again. Then we have this column 9 display this, column 3 display this. So 3 plus 9 making 12. We have a full page in there. Then have the footer set beneath. That is all. We have our toast. We want to display our toast. We pass in the user Netcode-Hub toast package. Then set the reference in here. You can specify the duration. If not, the duration is set to 3000 milliseconds. That's 3 seconds. Defaultly, you can override that by having this duration property specified. Okay. Then here we have our breadcrumb. That's the package that we installed. This breadcrumb tells you here, there's a breadcrumb. If I click on add maybe user, if I click on this add user, it has navigate us to the add user page. So you can see that there's a breadcrumb. So it tells you the navigation, the current page that you are, and the previous one. So you can see from home and add new user. Okay, so in that breadcrumb, you need to specify it in here. So we have this Netcode-Hub breadcrumb, and I need to specify the list in there. Now when you check this, this becomes a link that you can click to the home page. So this becomes is an app/home page. If I click on this, I can navigate to the home page, as you can see from here. So it's a matter of, it's also a link that you can click on. And how do you set this? So when you go down here, we have it in the form of a list. So when you check this, you see this property takes in a dictionary. So have a look. When you come, you can see we have the home, and then that is the link. So it has the home, the display, and then the link. And now here it is not, because you don't have, this is a current page and we don't want to give it any link. Okay, so we have only this two. If you have more, you can just add more to this. So this package can be used in any other project as well. Okay, then we have our tags for user state. In here we're going to populate our policies, what we have already, so the user can select. You know, when user clicks on add new, you can select what you can select, this policy, and that is what we are doing down here. If I click on register, we want to await task or delay. We want to call this service create user account. Then we want to save it to the activity that this method has been called. You pass in the description from the message or from the service. Then we have the date and the flag and etc. set in there. If it is true, then we're going to use this toast component. You want to show toast access, and if it is false, you want to also show an error toast. Okay, when the page rendered, we want to check if we want to check the claim. So if you do not have manage user to true, then please navigate to access denied, because before you can access this content, you must have this set to true. Okay, so let's see if I open this, like now this is an administrator, so I can come here. Now if I log out and I'm logging as manager, so I'm here, I'm going to log in as manager, and now let's see if manager has access to this. So you can see manager has no access. You cannot even see this. But if we try to navigate to this, then let's see what happens. So maybe let's go to the component down here, and on top we have to, let's grab this. Okay, then let's go to the, and now we don't have access to the user. So if I try to navigate through the address, see what happened. So you can see I'm to access denied, so you do not have access, and that is exactly what we are doing in here. Okay, then what else again? We are also, we see when the page initializes, we are connecting to the service created from the hub connection, from the signal app connection, so that in case you want to send anything here, we've already subscribed, so we can have access to that response or the request. So you can see from the notified in here, we subscribe to this event, which takes in the string of client ID. And now in that, we're going to call this method call when notified. So with this, you see we are calling this administrative or admin active order count dot get active order count. So anytime a user make a request, this method is going to get called. As soon as this method gets called, we want to also get this method called. So we are joining method to method, right? And as soon as this method gets called, you know, this page is subscribing. This method has an event that invokes as soon as it calls it. And now when it invokes it, there's a component known as admin header. This method subscribes to this invoke method, and this method is going to get reloaded. And now when this method gets reloaded, the variable set, that is the processing, the delivering, the delivered, the cancelled values, or the variables are going to be changed. Now when they change, it's going to display the current values in in this admin header or admin home header. Okay, and that is what I'm talking about in here. So when I click on the home, so from here you can see as soon as a client make a request or an order, this has to get changed. Okay, so when we subscribe to that event, it gets changed, and now this header here also gets notified. So now it gets changes, then this is going to get refreshed or reloaded, and then the values of this is going to change. Either it's going to subtract or it's going to add up to that. Okay, the same thing applies to any of these. So we're going to create some component for this admin header and also a client header. So in the content, we can have our admin header. So that's our home header, which has the button displayed from here. This button, that's what I'm talking about. So I put some buttons in here like that, and that is what you see. And you see that here we are getting, as we click on that, we want to navigate to the page. So here we have a method get processing other button clicked, and it's coming from this home generic state. So we want to navigate to the page and then get the selected state. So you can see we are passing the state in here, and now this is true. This true me tells you that this one is an admin, and if it is admin, then we don't need to specify any parameter as username. We can get everything from there. Okay, and now you see here we are subscribing to this admin state. So anytime that state changes or that method invoked, this component is going to get re-rendered, and the count in here is going to get changed. As you can see from here, these counts are going to get changed as well. The same thing applies to the client. So when you check the client homepage, it's the same thing, just a duplicate that I made, and you're also subscribing to the same state, but here it's subscribing to user state. Okay, and here, instead of you calling this method as an admin, we have to specify the parameter as what user ID. Before that, we have to get the ID from this auth-state service, and that is the reason why we are getting the name identifier. Okay, that gives you the ID of the current user. So after doing that, you can see when the page renders, you can see we have this. So these are skeleton loaders from Syncfusion. So I just created a component down here from the content pages or the content folder, created a component known as home skeleton loader, and now in there I am using SF skeleton. The shapes are square and these are the weights. So in that I have this down and I have this on top as graph, as you can see from here. So that's what I'm going to use to load anytime it is loading, because from the home page we are going to render it as stream rendering. So we want to display something before the actual content get displayed. And now again, when you check this add user page, you can see from here that we're having this change password type, and I'm resetting this password state to change password type. So in that you have this component, we have this using this floating text is from this Netcode-Hub packages, one of my packages that I use, and now this is progressive validation. So as soon as you type, it does the validation for you. Okay, and in that is where we are checking. So you want to switch the type from text to password, depend on the click of the user. So here the first one here is you want to show. If show password, then click on that, and this is going to change the type to what? Text. If hide, you're going to change the type to what? Password. Then the password is going to be hidden. Now we have this generic spinner in here. If I click on this create user, I want to show this spinner, and I'm going to tell you that there's a process going on, so please wait. And you can see we have a test and as we're creating, we have this a button class BTN success. We have it set in there. Then we have our validation summary, as you know already, to display any errors when we have any error from the service. And now the last method in this here, it is a state button clicked. Now if you have a look here, you can see when you're at the home page, I want to click on this processing, and if I click on the processing, see what happens. Check the address bar, click on this, and you can see it is navigating to this app.administration, then product that orders, and I'm passing in the processing. Okay, and you can see I'm having only the processing, so we are handling it in here. So for each component we want to handle it there, and that's the reason why we have this method. So if I click on it, you first have the admin URL to the list. We have it in here. Then we check if the state of the is admin is true, it will navigate to this admin page. And now here, add user page here is only admin can have access to. That's the reason why we are not having this else navigate to user. Okay, but some page you're going to have else, then we're going to navigate to the user page. But for now, admin is limited to add user page is limited to admin. That's the reason why we are not having any state change. No, we are not having the else statement. Yes. Okay, so now that we are done with this, when you go to the next one, you can see we have this manage user page, and on this page is going to allow the user to manage. And now here we having two section templates. So this is going to give you column 12 and now column 12, column 12. The first column is for the content, the second column is for the footer. And in that you have a footer template. So instead of specifying column 12 template again, you can specify the footer template and pass in your footer to get it displayed. Now in this column 12, you have this admin header, the same thing on top. We have the breadcrumb also still on top. And in the breadcrumb, you can specify background color, reload page on a click. And yes, you can specify these properties in there. So you can try your hands on it. And now here we are looping through the users from here, and now we create a table. So we are using this mat tree view. Okay, so that is a tree view from here. So if I click on product and I go to, let me log in as admin. And from here, you can see I have this manage user. So I'm using this mat tree view. So if I click on this, because I have the drop down, click on this and I have the drop down. And that is what we are doing from our source here. Okay, so using this mat tree view, and now you want to get the value from here. That is the email. You want to get the value here as what? The create update. Now this is going to turn to true or false. So these are all Boolean expressions. So they're going to be true or false. So when you check the output in here, you can see we have update is true, delete is true, read true, and etc. Yes, we have them specified in there. Then we have a button down there, and that is known as what? Edit or edit. So when you check here, you can see we have edit down here. And if we click on this edit, then we're going to make our component, that's the modal component, popped up for you to edit that. And that is a modal component. This is coming from Netcode-Hub packages.component.modal. So you can specify a bootstrap class for that, and this one is open. You can also specify that in there. Okay, you can also specify custom style as well. Then in that, you can have your edit form to get everything set. So if I click on this, what will happen? Click on edit, you have this. So this is what I'm talking about. So you're going to have true, false, that you can change it, and after that, you're going to save it in there. So when you take a close look, you have the same thing in there. So you checking up, and now checking if it is true, then set the current selected to true, else then set this to false. Okay, meaning it is not selected. Then set to false, and now move on. So this one is an input select. We have the same input select because when you check here, we are going to just select. They are all drop down, drop down, drop down, drop down. You can then use third-party component to handle that. By else, I use a default one. So you can use a default third-party like Simfishing drop down, Mad Blazor drop down, or any other third-party drop down to handle that. Okay, so we are doing the same thing for the read. So we are doing it for delete, read, get, delete, and add. Okay, then we have manage user, and here too we're also displaying the row name, because when you check here we have the row name in there. You see the row name as well. So we're also displaying the row name. Before we display, we must populate the row name and I get the current one selected on top, and we are also doing that from here. Then at the end, when you come here, you can see this is the manage user. So down here, manage user set to true or false. Last one, manage user. Then you have the button, and that is what we have in here. So that's the button. Click on this button. This button is going to get load, and then you have saving. Then this is going to be hidden, and after it saves, you have it. This is a toast to display the message from the service. Then you can move on with that. So after you get it saved from here, then you can call this, check the state. If it's true, then call this state component to display that. Okay, now when you check it is the same. When you check the page, if I click on user management, let me close this, click on user management and click on activity log, I use the same mad Blazor tree. So I use that to display all activities which are taking place in the system by the user or by manager, the admin or manager, and I group them based on date. So you can see here we have this was ordered placed successfully and executed by what, shop B. So shop B executed this, place this order. So you can actually, and the date was 24th April. So you can actually add a lot to this to keep track of all activities that go on in the system. And in that, this is what we did. So when you go to manage user page, not this manage, you're done with the manage user page, you go into this activity. So we have this Netcode-Hub breadcrumb also, admin header still there, 3 section layout, column 9, column 3 is for the footer, the sidebar, and we have this. So when you check this from the UI space, you see we have this, the sidebar in here, this is the content column 9, this is column 3, and that is the banner. Okay, then we have the footer down here. So that makes it as column 3. And in here, we are looping through this, creating an item in here for this mad tree view item. Okay, so this must be banner. So that is a banner that you want to display in there. Then we have a breadcrumb specified. This is a hub connection. We're also doing same. Then we are grouping the list in according to our date using this I grouping interface, specifying the date time and also the response in there. Okay, so when the page loads, get activities, get call from the service, check if the user is what? If the user is had this manage user as false, return. If not, continue on. Then get activities. So get activities is going to call the activities method, and I'm going to get these activities for you and then display it on the screen. So that's really what we're doing. Very simple as well. Now you can see we are copying and pasting the same method that we did from the signal connection, so that even when we are at this page and the user orders, we can still get notified. So when you check this, we don't want to be inside the home page before we get notified when a client creates a request or cancel an order. Okay, so where any page that we are, we want to make sure that this request get notified here. So we need to make a duplicate of this all the time. So that's the reason why we created a service. And as you can see from here, we are calling from the service. So we don't need to create any new instance service. No, we're using the old one and to create that. Okay, and that is this one. So the next one that I need to do here is to have a look on the product, the category, and on the location. Then we are done with our project. So from the content folder, I'm going to create another folder and I name it as product. And in there, we're going to have all our packages or our components related to product, category, and location. So from here, from product, we have category, we have location, and others, right? We have product details and our product page. So this is a product page. We have the same breadcrumb displayed, column 12 template, 2 section template specified. And this must be accessed by this person with a policy or administration policy. So you must be an admin to access this product.manage. Okay, so in that we have an SF grid. So when you have a look in here from the products, this product, we see you have this SF grid down here, right? We have these tools here, and so that's what we are doing in here. So we have this SF grid, and this is a column, so we're going to specify the columns in here. So this column here is going to give us the image. You want to have the date, the ID, the name, serial number, price, quantity. Okay, then you want to have the category, location, and description. So we have that from our grid, and we have modal 2. If I click on open, show product page, and now show confirmation page. So we are using the same model that we have. We are going to use it dynamically. We can use it to create tables or to create records. We can also use it to confirm. So in order to do that, you can see we're using this if else. So this is for product page. This section allows you to add a new product, and then this is for confirmation. So this also allows you to confirm, to display or to confirm, and before you delete or before you do any action. Okay. And each has a button. So you can see from this confirm, you have a delete button down here. This is for delete, so you have it confirmed in here. And when you click on it, this method gets called, confirm delete. Okay. So that's what we have at the modal title down here, and that's an SF grid. If you've used SF grid before, then you know what this is. If you haven't, then I have a video on that. You can check the video description to know how to use SF grid well, and that will help you a lot to understand this. Okay, now when the page loads, this is what we are doing. You can see we have this breadcrumb, the same thing specified, and it has been spoken of already. We have this Boolean expression to show product page and to show confirmation page as well. Now there is a Netcode-Hub file upload. Now you know, if I want to add file, if I click on this, I have this pop-up, and as soon as I select an item from here, I have this loaded indicator. Okay, so this loader here tells you the progress of the file upload, and also as soon as it uploads, it's going to return two states. First state is going to be the base default string, and you're also going to return the file itself. So you don't need to create any base default string code again. Just use the package, and it's going to get the file converted to base default string. So when you have a look from here, we have to use the package down here. So when you check this, there is the display. So let me close this from here, and I want to check this modal. So you can see this is the modal, and now this here is the content show product. So if I open this, is the content of the modal. Because we have floating number, input number, floating text area, Netcode-Hub file, and you create a reference of it. And now this notify. So if you see this notify returns file model. Now this file model contains the base64 string and an iBrowser file. So this returns the file itself and the base64 string of that file or that image. Okay, then you can get going. Okay, and now here this required extension. So you can also specify the required type. If it is an image, you're going to have the base64 string, but if it is not image, well, then you cannot do that. Then you can get the file itself from the iBrowser file, and it also works. So in any way, it still works. Okay, now this is specified. These are the list of parameters or the extension that you can specify. So required what extensions, and let me go down here, and you know, from the extension we are requiring only JPG and our PNG. Now if I click on save, what I'm going to do, so this is going to get categories. You know, before you can add products, you must select categories, and I believe you know that. So if I click on add product, you have to select category. So you first have to populate the category here, and that is what we did. So when you check here, you can see we call this categories, you get this allocation, and you're going to make a call calling this with the mediator, calling the category query, and also querying the word location query. Okay, after that, get product query. So we can use that in the, you can use this product query in the handler to get the products that you want, and I get them in here. Okay, now this is the toolbar item that we need. So when you check this, if you check the UI, you can see we have these toolbar items. All these are the items that we specified up, and that is what I specified down here. So view, edit, PDF, Excel, and print. Now if I click on any, what will happen? After that, creating these toolbar items, you can see when you go to the list down here, you're going to specify the tools in the SF grid. So that's an SF grid. The tools are here. These are the tools. Okay, So you specify the tool from that end. Then when each tool is clicked, what are you going to do? That is found down here. So if each tool is clicked, it's over here. Yes. So if it is clicked, then default grade.export to Excel, export to PDF. It's very simple, just line of code. You're going to work with it. Print to print, and also view to this. So check if row is selected. So you make sure you select row before you can click on view. Okay, because before you can select let's see. So if I click on view, just I must have this one, toast, no row selected. I have to select it before I can click on view. You see? And that is what we're doing in here. Okay. And that is here we're going to use for confirm delete. So if you want to delete it, we click on this, then you can see we're calling this delete command. We pass in the selected product ID, then we save to the activity that something has been, this method has been called, and our product is deleted. Okay, the return or the results that you come in here, we're going to check. Is it true? Then show success. If it's false, show error. Now you want to call product again when only it is true, because if it is true, it tells you that product has been removed. Then refresh it, call it again, get a current one. But in case there's an error in it means the product was unable to be removed and the product still persists. So there's no need for us to call the service again. So the same approach that we are using for this product page, it is the same thing that we are using for, from the detail page, we are going to receive an ID from here, and this is the policy that guiding this. And I think that just using the div class to display that, because when you check this, there's an output. So you can also do something like this. Tells you the serial number, the category, the location, the price, the quantity, the name in here, then the product name, the product description, date, and then the product ID. Then you have this on top. You have also your this one, and that is the header on top in here. Okay, and that is what we are doing here. So it's a matter of when it check this, we having this get product response in here. Then when the parameter changes, we want to call the service and pass in the ID. Okay, since we have parameter down here, this is a parameter of ID, it is a string, and so when it is called, then we want to call the query, get that specific product, and then display it in here. Now when you go to the category page, it is the same thing. For the category page, we are not using SF grid. We use just a table, Netcode-Hub table, data grid, just a table to display. So if I open this and I go to product categories, you can see that we have a table down here, and we have a crate. If I click on crate, you can see we have this model. So the same thing that we are also implementing, the same idea that we are implementing down here. We have this data grid, and all these are the parameters that you can specify. We have a table row, then we have a table body by looping through them, and now displaying something in here. So you can see we have a pagination set up here. So when you check this, we have pagination, and for pagination, we need to get the skip and tick from here, and this is syncfusion pagination. So you must specify the SF pager down here, the page size, the number of item count, and the page items count, the item click. So this is the method that we need to define. And let's see. So with this must be the banner. And I have confirmation. So I also have a confirmation package, and you can also use to confirm that. So instead of you overriding the modal to using the modal twice for adding product and for showing confirmation, you can also use only the confirmation. Okay, and it's going to work as well. All that you need to do here is to create a reference of it, pass in your instruction, and now in there, well, if I click on yes, this action will be called, then you know that yes, that's been confirmed. and I can now go ahead and remove it or do whatever thing that I want to do with it. You see? And that's what we are doing in here. So for this too, you can see this is a content, and our edit form, we want to add a name of the item. That's a category. Now we save it. And now you see we have this breadcrumbs, model title, set it to, we're going to set it, since we're going to update it, we want to dynamically set it. So create new category, update category, then and so forth. Okay. So when the page initializes, we want to also check if you have access to the delete claim as yes. That is what you want you to maintain. Okay. So can delete here is what? We want to check if you have the delete access to yes. Then go to the delete section. So you can see from here that you have delete from here. So you can see that this is delete. So we are checking if this is true. That is where I want you to delete this. You see? So if it is true, but in case it is not, then please show this. Now this has no on-click event, and now it is test secondary, so it is blur. So if I sign out like this, let me see this. This is admin, so I can see this. Let me sign out, and I'll log in as manager. And I'll go to product and others. Oh, that is category. So go to categories and manager. You can see from here, this is blur, right? So this is not clickable. Yes. And that's the reason why we're doing that. So we're checking if can delete is false, then you want to display this instead of the original one. Yes. So this method that we're doing here, or this component, we're going to create a duplicate of this, and now one is going to be the location, and one is going to be the category, because they have the same type, and we can make a duplicate of it, change the values or the variables in it, and we are good to go. So that's exactly what we are doing in here. So get categories, we call the get categories query to get all the listed categories, and I display it in there. Now these are classes that I created, which actually adds some little star to this. So you can decide to skip that. You can see it has a little star to this. So these are just the star that I created to do that, but you can also skip it if you don't want to do that. And that is what we have in here. So all these are CSS, and they are found in the custom, the JS file that we linked in the app.razor component. Okay, so save it. You can also save that down here. Okay, now from saving, we have an ID, so we can check. You see, we can update it, and we can check this one. So we are update category. So we update it if the ID of this is not equal to queue.empty. But in case it is empty, then we are going to save it in here. Okay, so we are checking if it is not empty, meaning that we want to update that. But in case it is empty, then we want to save this as a new category, and that's what we are doing in here. Okay, now here it is when it is clicked SF pager. When it is clicked, then you want to skip and take the current, skip the page size specifying here as 10, then take 10 in there. So this is for the SF pager event that we can handle. Now this is for edit click. So you can see when it's clicked, you want to change the model title, change the ID holder, and I want to map the category into this category model, then open model. The same thing applies to the delete. And now in here, if I click on confirmed, I want to now call this remove. So you can see we have this delete category command passing the ID holder, that's the category ID, and that is going to get deleted from the database. Okay, the same thing applies to the location. So we're doing same to location. So I just copy and paste and now change some couple of things, and that is all. Now when you go to the others, we have admin order, we have client others. So you know it is for the administration. Then admin can cancel other. Admin can also update other in here. But before you do that, you must select row first. So click on this, and now you can select the change the state in here, and now click on update order to get it updated. Okay. And now as soon as the page the order is being made, it is set to processing defaultly. We went through that in the overview. Okay. Now when you come here, we are using the same thing as you know this. Then we're using the SF grid. As you know, it's the same thing that we are doing. Just that here we're changing the model names in here from get order response, client name, order date, and etc. We're changing them. So it's the same thing that we're doing. Okay. So as you can see from that, it's the same thing. Then from here, we have a model. This model will allow us to change the state. So we see from here that we have this other state in here as cancelled. We want to populate them in here. So we want to first search for the state from the selected one. If the state is cancelled, then we want to display as cancelled. You see, there's a select option, select. So you want to get the current one. That's why we're using this option, and we're using this option down here. Okay. So this is going to give us the current state as like this. If I click on this, and now you see this processing. So if I click on update, I might see the processing here. If this cancel, if I click on this update, I might see the cancelled in here. If I click on delivering, if I click on update, I might see the delivering in here. Okay, and that is what we are doing in here. So we search for the selected, and now we check the state. We set it as the selected value for this option, and that is all. So here you can also change the date, and now you have a button update. This is a generic button that's going to get clicked, and you're going to have a spinner as soon as you click on update it, and then wait for 30 seconds before it saves it. So when you go to the UI tool, this is the breadcrumb. The same thing. We have a toast that we're going to be using to display our toasts. We have this going to dynamically set or change the model. We have a toolbar. We've done that already. And this is a list that we created to hold the orders from here. Then when the page initializes, we call in user identity, we call in this get orders and our load toolbar. We also connect to the service, that's the CQRS, so that anytime a client makes a request, when we are in the orders, we can also get notified. When we get notified, please do call this method and now invoke this. When invoke it, it's going to get the project, the processing the state count from the handler. It's going to return it to the UI, so that the UI is going to can increase. So let's say the admin creates an order. The current order that we have is 1. Admin creates this one, click on create, and he gets the message that order has been placed. As soon as order has been placed, you must have your processing increase to 2. Okay, we did that also in the preview, so that's what we're doing in here. All right, I'm not sure I'll be able to take you through the whole thing in here because there's a lot. Project is a lot, and taking it through one after the another is going to be difficult for me. Okay, but I'll do my best and I'll take you through some of them. So that's why I need to have the view of it. Then maybe you can modify this, so you can even get a source code as well and try to modify it as well. So maybe at a certain point that you do not understand, you can let me know as well. Okay, and maybe one-on-one I can take you through it for you to get the understanding better if you think that place isn't clear for you. Thank you. All right, so that's what we are doing in here. All right, this is the toolbar click. We saw that in the previous video, so I need to go over again. Now when it is clicked, cancel that is clicked, you want to check if we selected, then we want to do this. Now if check here, we're checking that if the cancel order, if the toolbar click is cancel order. So if I click on this, when you check the view in here and I click on this cancel order, if I have this row selected, okay, and if this is clicked, then that's what I want to do. I want to reset the model display. I want to dynamically render the component because I want to cancel. So before you cancel, I want to show, maybe I just want to do this. Yes, you see. So have a look, click on this, cancel. This is what we are displaying in here. So I just want to do this. It is the same model, that's why we are modifying to see like this. Okay, So we have to use some CSS in here and adjust ourselves. So that's the reason why I'm using the CSS classes down here to handle that. Else, if it is an update order, then also display this. So let's say if an update order to click on this one, click on this update order, it's the same model, but the content has now drastically changed. Then we have this in here to change it. So one model, but we can use it more than once. Dynamic model. My Nugget package supported, so you can use that anytime you want. Good. Okay. And that is if I click on confirmed. You know, when I click on, I usually want to do this, click on confirm, cancel order. That is where this gets caught. Okay, so other model button clicked. Then you want to set if the ID is not equal to null, then you want to check the state. If it is cancelled, then you want to show this. If it is not, then you want to get this, show the delivered. Yes, and now the next one is get orders. So here you're going to get all orders, and you can see we are calling this get orders query from the handler, and I'm just going to get all the orders from here. There's an order state, so we're populating this as strings order state. So here we are having processing, delivered, and delivering, right? Then in here, if order is selected, we want to grab the state. So update.model.order state is equal to the value that we have from the drop down. Okay, now when you have a look from the client order, it is the same thing that we're also doing in there. So just a duplicate that we are also doing in there. Just that, you know, when getting orders, we need to specify the ID. You need to get the ID. For admin, we are not getting any ID because admin can see all orders, but for user, we have to specify the parameter of an ID, and now we have to call the service get orders by ID query, call this in here, and I'll specify the ID in that. It's almost the same thing. That is what we have duplicated down here. Okay, good, and that is it. All right, so let's run this. Let's test it out. Yeah, there's an issue here. You know, we did not register any of the services. So let's go to the program, and in here we're going to register this service. So these are the services that we're going to register. So we have the authentication provider service, we have the change password state, user active for that service, admin. All the services that we created, we're going to register them in here. And now that's why we add the sync fusion. And as you can see from here, I have my license here on the sync fusion. So you can also register an account in the get free license, and now copy the same thing and I'll paste it down in here. Okay, then you have to add the signal R, add the mad Blazor service, and that is all. Then from the signal R connection, you have to map the hub. So you can change the hub name, the URL. But when you change the URL, you have to make sure that you go to the service and also change the URL service. The URL in the service, that's the Netcode-Hub or communication service. So when you go to solution, let me show you well. When you go to the solution, and when you check the hub, you know, I created a Netcode-Hub service, and that's it here. So you have to come here now, change it as well. If you change it from the program, you have to change it in here too. Okay, now let's run this again. Okay, so it is ready. Now let's log in and check it out. Alright, so before you continue, and I forgot to tell you one thing. You know, when the page loads, we must have this graph displayed. So with this graph, we have to create a component, and this component is known as homepage graph. Then in that, we are using the sync fusion. You can see it's a stream rendering, and we're having this skeleton loader. It is from the sync fusion that we created earlier on. Then we're using this SF chart, and here we are specifying the chart type here as well. The chart type is column, so we have column chart. And because we have created the queries, the commands, the queries and the handlers already, So what I need to do here is to call the handler and now get it. So you can see we have this get product ordered by month, get ordered product with quantity response, and in there you can see when the page initializes, we get the user ID and we check if user is not equal to null. You want to extract the claims, that's the row and then the user ID. So when you come here and check if the row is admin, call in this method without passing in anything. If it is row user, then passing the user ID, as you can see from here. When you get to the chart 2, do the same thing. So admin passing null because admin want to retrieve everything, but for user, passing the user ID. And now when it gets to the handler, it's going to check if it is not null, if the ID user ID is not null, then it's going to make a search to that specific value assigned to that user ID which is coming in, and I'll return the content. If it is null too, get a whole data and then return it to this. So with this, we can render this SF chart with that. So you can see I'm having the same thing duplicated. This is the same column type. So I had this is a 1 and now this is 2. So the same thing that we're doing. When we are done, you go to the home and we're going to modify the page a little bit. Okay, so here we have an interactive server, and in that, when you check, we have a home template. This home template, we want to display the footer. We want to display this home section 1 column 9. We want to display column 3 because that's what we've been using, and also display. So let me actually set this. Let me put this like this. So you can decide to hide any of them. You can decide to also show them as well. Then from the header, home header template, we have the admin and the client. So we're going to use this authorized right view, specify the policy, and I'll pass in the component. So this means that admin can have access to this. User can also have access to that. Okay. Then we have our section column 9 in here. We specify the graph that we created. And also the section 1 column 9, we specify the banner that we created. Now lastly, we have a footer beneath. That's what we are doing. For this, we can close this. We can clear this because we don't need this for now. Then here too, we are also calling our Hub connection. Then we also want to subscribe to the Hub connection in there as well. All right, so it's ready. Now let's log in and check it out. All right, so let's see. Now you can see we have this sidebar nicely. When we minimize this, you can have this sidebar too as well. Now let's go in there and I'll create user and check it out. So let's add fresh user, and there's going to be user, add user. Oh, that will be the email. And you can see that once we type, we have the validation in progress. So this is user, policy is user policy, and this is user at 123. Now user at 123. Now you can see that is the state that I was talking about. You can see now you can see the password. You can also hide the password. Now let's click on create user. Now let's wait and check it out. You can see user created. Now let's wait. Okay, so this is done. When you go to now manage users, you must see 2 users. Click on that. Let's see. And you can see that we have user and we have admin. So you can see default user is false, 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 and our admin is true, true, true. You can see that. Good. Now you can go in there and add product. So it's the same thing as we did in the overview. Okay. We spent much time here, so when you have it, you can try hands on it, and in case you have any issue too, let me know. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this, and hopefully I'm going to catch you up in the next video.